Welcome. Okay,
Oops.
wow, I just see.
No, nobody heard you. Hey, you have to say hey again.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hey.
Waffles unmuted us like 3 seconds late. It's okay.
Welcome to detention.
It was on purpose, actually. We decided that we are gonna do this entire thing muted silently, so you can only get the interpretation of our like hand motions and things like
Yeah,
that.
if you join us later on
answer
YouTube,
questions or dance.
If you join us later on YouTube, there'll be a black and white filter, and it's a silent film. So
Nice.
But you know how when you do the black and white film and then like they cut to like text, that's just the text, but it's all of our conversations, so it's mostly just the text thing and not us at all. But I do like after school special, the interpretive dance, so that'll come next time. That'll be the next Kofi goal.
That's our next goal. Yeah.
But speaking of, first of all, oh my gosh, hi guys, hi. Everybody. I'm so excited. We're in top form. Prior to going live, we've had at least 2 spit takes so far. So we're doing great.
Also in true amazing form, me and Star are in the wrong spots.
I will be Hideaki today.
I am Arafe.
I can really
No.
really go for
It's not Thursday. We're not supposed to be in the best. Like this is it's
fine.
it's the
if there was any time
weekend.
for me
Let
to
your
mess
hair
up, it's
down.
right now.
Yeah.
Let your hair down.
Put it way
Switch
up.
yourself and Maria, please.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can just
Yep.
be. I'll be
Yeah,
our
let's just do it.
Let's go. Let's
All right,
just be.
Maria.
Oh,
this is
sir,
gonna
that
have
means
you-
that you have to show me.
Wait, no, you can put me as the GM.
Yeah, but sir, you have to show me the note that you couldn't show me earlier now because I'm Arafe.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'll send you all of the secrets. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
Maria,
Yeah.
Can you do your best arc impression?
No, because then I'd have to impress Waffles, and I'm really self-conscious.
I respect that so much, though. And you're just like, I can't.
No.
No, you got this. I believe it.
Well,
I'm
let's
gonna-
flip it. Let's flip it. Hold on. Waffles,
can
can you
just-
do your best talent impression?
I will after I finish cameras.
Okay. In the meantime,
When I switched our spots, she's very tall and I'm very short.
I am very tall, but you are also very tall, so I can't say.
indeed.
Can't say that.
I will say then, I will do an Arafe impression. I'm way more agreeable than Hideaki is.
The softening of the voice, I love it.
It's very good. It's very good.
Wow, look at this. We're already like jumping ahead of things. Okay, so welcome to the after school special, Outcast and Outclassed After-school Special. First of all, the fact that we're even here, the fact that we're even doing this is thanks to all of y'all's amazing support, with no little appreciation and love thrown to Duval for bringing us over the edge of our Kofi goal, to allow us to do this very thing. And Duval, is it really because you just want to talk about Hideaki? Like, that's the...
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just gonna put it out there. Now, my dog here is very eager as well to join us.
Yay, Bubby!
Puppies are the best.
We love them.
I'm very, very, very excited, and thank you, D&D Jordan Lee, for pointing out the camera that I see in chat. But so what is this after school special? What does it mean? After school special, school themed words. It doesn't mean anything. So what this is a quick little explanation, is a behind the scenes look at all of the cool things that we do for this show, and more particularly these amazing characters and some of the decisions that we're making and all that good stuff. I will say, I would love to continue to do these. I think there's going to be a lot more insight that will need to be gleaned, and so I don't know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how we're going to keep these things going, but we do know that it's thanks to the support of y'all, the Breakfast Club that supports us through Ko-Fi or Patreon, however you choose. It means the world for us. It lets us do additional content. It lets us put more like things together for the stuff that we do. I wish I could do everything for free. I really do. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of the world that we live in. However, it's a joy and a pleasure every time we see one of y'all be like, yeah, these people, we like them. here's some support, and that feeling alone is priceless. Okay, so we asked the Breakfast Club, anybody that has questions, to send them in. If anybody of the Breakfast Club is in chat, feel absolutely free. Everybody feel free to ask those questions. We'll do our very best to support, to prioritize the Breakfast Club folk, but we're going to take in all sorts of questions. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. I think we're going to start off with something hard-hitting, because we want to really, really jump into it. So I'm going to turn it over to Waffles. Waffles, we're pulling out all the stops right now. We're not... emotional damage? Yes, please. Waffles.
You thought it was just your characters? You thought you were safe?
We cry after every stream. Together.
Yeah. I do
Secrets have been revealed.
The real thing, we were like, okay, so what is this after school special going to be? The reality of it is we're just going to show you guys the nonsense that continues to happen at the end of every of our shows when we are hanging out on the Zoom, aftercare, taking care of each other, seeing how the session went, and
making shirts.
Making shirts 1 a.m. or more. And yeah, this is this amazing group and this amazing dynamic that makes for such an amazing show that I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for. We normally, and like with the shows, we go around and we say who's here and where to find you. I'm going to do that near the end, but all of these people are on the internet, so you should find them and support all the other things that they do. When this goes on YouTube, we have in the description links to everybody, so please find them, support them, and these amazing things. Oh my god, we already have a question. I'm gonna not read it.
And Syrup is
She says that she read it?
Oh, I'm starting us off.
I'm just compiling questions. So y'all in the chat can start. You can keep asking questions.
Rapid fire, let's go.
I'm gonna
rapid fire. We're gonna compile them. Thank you, Maria. It's
Yes.
gonna be great.
Okay. So I came up with this question. I asked her to make sure it was okay that I asked it. So my question is, what is something or everything, however you want to explain it, but what is something of yourself that is in this character? Like the player's person that is in their character.
Waffles was really sweet. It was like, is this too much? Is this an okay question? And I was like,
That's
yeah,
perfect.
absolutely
This is
emotionally
totally a
damaged by
question that
players.
I was going
Please.
to ask, so
Yes, amazing.
Love it.
So let's start us off. Maria, wonderful, amazing Maria.
Me. So with Tal, I, like most characters I make, was like, I don't know anything if that's the same as my character. It's all gonna be new and fun. And the more that I play Tal, and the more that I did like deep dives into Tal, and by play Tal, I mean within like the first like hour of thinking about Tal, I should say. I did a little work on like some of the things that Tal like is like focusing on, and like fears and all that sort of stuff. And then as I was looking through that, I was like, wait. So some of the things that are like from me that I have either consciously or unconsciously put into Tal is this this kind of fear and apprehension of being overlooked by people. And I think part of it is just being in like this social media phase of existence. But I think it's because, and I think I shared it, I might have shared it with the rest of the cast. It's something that I had to struggle through growing up. It was with Syrup. When I was talking to you.
Yeah.
It was something that I had to struggle with growing up, is not being intentionally like ignored. It wasn't intentional, but it still happened and it still hurts. So kind of taking that idea into Tal, who came from a very loving place that still holds a bit of like a bit of sadness and a bit of like hurt. Because that's how I grew up. It was a great place that still has a little bit of like the light trauma from it. So that's one of the things.
The beautiful thing, in my opinion, of everybody's backstories and things like that, there's a trend with D&D characters, with TTRPG characters, right? Like, parents are dead, tragic backstory, whatever it is, here I am now. And you didn't go that route, and I think that there's something very interesting to explore with how you did that like, something can be happy, something can be wholesome in certain ways, but still be problematic in other ways, because I think to an extent, that's the reality of a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah, and I think that
to
to also tack on to that was the idea that like Tal came from a very happy place where they were very happy in the circus, but they didn't realize that the circus was not all that there was. There was there's this whole entire world with all of these people that like she's met a very small amount of people now, and how much more there is to learn and grow, and all the things that they missed out on by being just in this one very nice little pocket. And the idea of like being surrounded by people who, share your same ideas and values and all those sorts of things, and not realizing that there is a whole big world and universe also outside of that can be hard and painful, but also you can learn and experience and grow so much more if you're not just in this one little space, this little pocket.
You said the social media time that we live in, and that right there goes hand in hand, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Meet new people, y'all.
Yeah, and people that may not share your mentality or your outlook on life, it's not always like meeting those people, interacting with those people is not always a bad thing. And can enlighten your worldview, so to speak. Oh my goodness, thank you guys so much.
Hi, Lobo.
So
we love a robo. Hit me, robo.
We do love a robo. So with that, I'm going to. Jordan made a lovely question that the question that we're basically answering, but worded just a slight different. So I do want to ask the second part. Jordan asks, for many of us that play TTRPGs, we end up putting even a portion of ourselves into what we do. What would you say is your connection with these characters? Which obviously is what we're answering, but they specify joy, rage, shenanigans, mischievous side, things like that. So there's we joke, we have our emotional trauma shirts for O&O and everything. If you could add one thing less on the emotional trauma side, is there a connection you have with with their outlook, with Tal's outlook or anything like that? Like joy, mischievousness, things like that?
Their hopefulness. They wish for and also me to different varying degrees, hope for the best outcome in people, in things, and all of those things. And
Absolutely.
So go into situations and into things with a hopeful energy, as opposed to like a scared or a nervous or an anxious, like, oh, but this isn't going to be anything. Like I always hope for I always hope for the best of people. Yes. And it's also very earth-shattering when it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
but
no, absolutely. That's the thing, right? Like same with it's the other side of the thread of what you said about Tal a second ago of being comfortable in the naivety and being comfortable in this is my world, this is what I know, and stepping out of that comfort zone can hurt.
Yeah.
But it can be beautiful, right? It can be enlightening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And let's ask the same question to Star.
Oh boy, we're going into this.
Oh boy.
So, remind me again, so we're going through I was so captured by Maria, all of a sudden I went, oh crap, I forgot what we were actually
Incredible.
So valid. No, so I believe Waffles' question was specifically what of yourself have you put into your character? What aspect of yourself?
Yeah. So Arafe has a lot of stars and insecurities, to be completely honest. It is one of those, like, coming to this game, I also saw myself as coming in as the least experienced. Duval has played a ton of games, Maria's played a ton of games, Waffles and Syrup run their own streams, and I'm happy to be here. So there was that moment of I felt I was coming to the table with royalty, essentially. And I know I'm getting a lot of my shut up faces from Duval because this happens a lot.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm called out.
Look at Jerry. Look at what Jerry has to say to you.
I know. Star still has a lot of imposter syndrome that we're working through. And so part of that is actually channeled into Arafe of I don't think I am the same as everyone else here. I need to work to be at that level. And the person that I used to be was very much the take care of yourself last personality. And that is very much something that I have put into Arafe because I know that's not right. That's not the right way to think. So there is some growth that she can have of which Hideaki has forced her into very quickly, which has been good. But yeah, so that's a lot of. I grew up in a very small town, Minnesotan town, and that's kind of how that world works. You come last, you take care of everybody else first, and so growing out of that is something that's extremely important to me. Of still caring for people, but making sure that I'm not last, that I'm equal with others.
I'm so proud of you to hear you say that, and that's absolutely amazing.
It has to be your green check mark from now on. It has to be the.
Yeah, that's 100%.
It's a super serious moment. It's gotta be your.
Just so everybody know, when it's green, it's Gary. When it's angry, it's Jerry. That's how we do it.
That's how we do it.
But no, that's so beautiful. That's absolutely amazing. And I think that there's something to point out in that you mentioned that Hideaki pulled Arafe out of that rather quickly, or pointed out to Arafe rather quickly. And I think that it's interesting because there's also something to explore with new environment, all this other stuff. There's a lot of change happening immediately with every single one of your characters coming into this space and then meeting each other and how you all are interacting. There's a lot of change that each and every one of you are going through. And with Arafe, this sudden change of like, oh, I'm being called out for not believing in myself or whichever aspect of it. That doesn't always mean awareness of it doesn't always mean that you recognize it in all facets that it comes out. So I definitely see that Hideaki called it out of Arafe very, very quickly, but I think there's a lot of little pockets in Arafe that still that Hideaki light hasn't touched.
Oh yeah, they're still out there.
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting to see how those come out, and whether or not they'll be explored and promoted healthily. I mean, I don't know. Duval does have the tendency to say like exactly the hard-hitting thing at exactly the right time. It's kind of crazy, kind of wild, but
that's a skill.
Yeah. But that's beautiful.
And then for the second part of the what do the positive, not the emotional damage, but the other side of it. There is one thing that I have always seen in myself that I also see in her is I don't assume I'm going to fail. I assume I'm going to get there. It's just how long it's going to take me. I am that person that has always been I'm either going to do it for myself or to spite you, one of the two, but it's going to happen either way. And it's just how long it's going to take me to get there. So I am one of those people that I see failure as a thing and I don't think it's something I'm going to run into. It's just how long it's going to take me to be successful. And I think Arafe has that too.
Wow. Can we we focus so much on the emotional damage that we do to our characters that there's only been 2 things so far that we've gone through, and already each positive thing is like into my heart. That is so beautiful. That is so amazing.
I don't detect that will change at all throughout.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't know. I have a feeling this is gonna be emotional for me. This whole convo is gonna be emotional for me already.
Tearing up
Like,
already. What are you talking
about?
about?
Yeah, there's a reason I started off hard, right? Like we're gonna just get it right into it.
Wait, are we in therapy this week? Is that what's happening right now?
That's group therapy session.
Hey, therapy is a wonderful and beautiful thing that
Very
I
much
encourage
so.
everybody to explore.
Yes.
But I just take a moment for the 2 that have said it so far, and I'll say it again after the next 2. Take a moment to appreciate that beauty in yourself, because you just said that beautiful thing about your character is a part of you, and that means that that beautiful thing is a part of you, and that's incredible. Let's go over to Waffles.
Oh man.
You asked the question, you gotta answer it yourself.
I refuse. No, I'm just kidding.
This may be the one I'm most excited for. I'm just not gonna lie.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of words to put with it, but I'm good at answering questions. So, what have I put? The thing I put most into ARC is basically a journey into like a world that they're not used to. So I've recently began my journey through an autism diagnosis, and I thought the best way to represent that in like this fantastical world was an android that had been created like 4 or 5 years ago, and now they're coming into this magical school world, and so for art kind of represents a lot of my struggles with society and like neurotypical society and autism and everything else.
Absolutely. I think that that's something that when you first approached me, not spoilers to anybody who doesn't know, Waffles and I were partners in life as well.
Spoilers.
So, surprise.
Who is Maple?
Maple's all of
We don't.
my running joke is Maple is all of y'all, the sticky sweetness that holds us together.
No.
Here we are. We're getting reveals here at After School Special. Let's go.
One more person
Wow.
mentions Maple. I'm gonna have to.
We don't talk about Maple.
We don't talk about it.
No, but when you first approached me with that aspect, it was when we first started O&O. The whole journey into exploring autism for you was brand new, like very new at that time.
Yeah.
And you yourself, I think, have come a long way, and since then, and me, which is not that it's about me, but like the allistic journey, allistic being the non-autistic journey of acceptance of autism is something that in the past few months I've gone through myself as being your partner, and it's an ongoing journey, and it's made me very, very passionate about having that same exploration and understanding and process go through the other characters on the show for Arc 2. And I can't wait to continue to explore that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me neither.
And what about the positive aspect?
I mean, yes. The autism
Excellent.
journey is a positive aspect, in my opinion. Also, he's intelligent and good with numbers, and I think I am too. So I think that really, like, just the intellectual and logical way of looking at things, while some people might see it as not positive, I find it positive. So that's something.
Who doesn't find that positive?
I think I've
like
met
them.
people in life who are like, it's like the autism versus holistic thing of like, oh, that's not how most people would look at it, so why would you say that, like, kind of thing. So
Oh, boo.
yeah.
I'm gonna suggest something from a different end of arcs. How am I gonna what's the right word for this? Dependability, maybe. I think that it actually goes hand in hand with the intellect. I think that there's an aspect of Arc that always tells it like it is and will, be focused on the factual accuracy of things. And I it's happened a couple times already, and I really, really love every time it happens. And I think Aerofay is one of the ones that has mentioned it the most, of that they trust Arc to tell it like it is. There's a dependability of honesty and trust there that is never, ever in question. I think that is a huge strength in your character, Waffles, as an individual, and one of the reasons that I've always, from when I got to know you in Funnily Left while playing D&D, I was like, there's no games with you. There's no questioning, you
don't have to dance around stuff.
No dancing around. It is such a relief. It is so beautiful. I think that aspect of yourself, which is a very, very positive thing to me, also shows an Arc.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Let's go to guess who? Dua.
Oh, hi. What are we here for? No.
Emotional damage.
Okay. So on the negative / neutral side, I guess we'll start there. Untapped potential was something that I heard a lot growing up, and I only into my 30s realized how negative that was for me growing up, because oh man, you're so good at this thing, but if you could just tweak this one little thing, and it's but I heard that in elementary school and middle school and high school and all throughout. I told this story to some of you before. I was the kid in school that aced all the tests and then didn't do homework because I just didn't see the fucking point. So I instead of being an A student, I was a B- student, and I was totally okay with that. And then I found out I just kind of didn't really like school at all. But I sort of had this kernel of an idea of what if this was who this person is, and then how do I wrap something around that and breathe life into them was sort of where things got rolling. Plus, who doesn't love a good daddy issue?
A whole daddy issue for me, please.
Sprinkle that in there. Yeah.
Well, daddy issue season in. And that's what I loved about last episode was he really, and super sidebar, this is something I told both Marie and Syrup. I was and I had to be careful because I was don't meta this, but I was also don't let him get away with it, because he will. He will absolutely do it, because he's really good. Something that, it's funny, we're talking about saying the right thing and the hard thing sometimes is, and that's a really interesting line to play with him, because a lot of the things that I say comes from experiences that I've had, right? And he's coming from he doesn't have that experience at all, but he's read about a lot of stuff. Or he's also really fucking observant too, and so that's why he was talking to Airfay about remember that thing? Told you,
right?
Yeah.
The way that ties into me with the untapped potential is, if you've been told your whole life your untapped potential, you could be amazing, you could be great. When you embody that, when you start to believe it yourself, there's a lot of unhealthy aspects of that. But when you translate that into an intellect, right, into reading all these books and learning all these things, there is, I think, something that happens of a discomfort with being wrong, a discomfort with being. And
almost
by the way, I say this, right? I say this because it's really close to home for me as an individual as well. But the thought of, the things that you say as Hideaki, these statements that you make, being very factual, very pointed to everybody else, can't be wrong, right?
The fun thing about some of those things is, in many cases, he either A, doesn't believe them himself, but he's saying it for the sake of the person that he's talking to, or in the case of specifically the conversation that he had after our victory last episode, he didn't even think about the fact that he should have said that to himself, too.
Oof. Oof.
It didn't even like cross his mind because he was like, "Oh, Ignacio's watching us, but I need to go tell Arafe that I was right about this thing." Like,
ooh, that's fascinating to me as a GM to
it was such a it was a big choice.
Decision making, that's
because he was like, "What do I? It's fine. Like, I'll see him later." And
you know, like, it didn't come off that way in the game. Like, I didn't even think about that until you just said that. Like, I thought you went the friendship route, if you think about it. But it wasn't. It was the I'm right route. Wow.
But delivered in a friendship route.
Right. Of course, because that has.
Was more upset
this is
by
a
the
question
moment.
to you. Has that been given positive reinforcement in the past for Hideaki? Like, oh, I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend.
Well, also, like, he hit, like, the letter that he got from Kazushi was like, "Oh, fuck, I'm a shitty friend. I have to, like, fix that." And, like, fucking, like, and, like, number one, Arafe. Like, gotta fix that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, cool. Like, I can get Tal, and then I'll figure out the R2 situation eventually. And so and I was reading back the original, like, prompts and stuff. I haven't looked at it in a while, and it's, like, amazing to see, like, what sort of, like, manifest you want. But there's also, like, everyone, we all have that, like, little voice in the back of our minds that, like, we second guess and stuff like that. And then there's, like, an ancient copper dragon in his brain too. Like, that's great.
That's interesting.
But yeah, so that's kind of the overarching sort of piece on the negative neutral side. On the positive side, his absolutely unrelenting drive to succeed. Definitely, it's not close to home because it is me. That is 100% how I operate. I will, like, sorry, your point around, like, failure. Here's the irony about it. You typically learn more from the failures than your successes in life.
Yes.
Hideaki doesn't know that. But he doesn't, like, skate. He didn't, because he was like, I'm just going to succeed at everything and it won't fucking matter. And then failure. And then, like, that one success. And then, like, that emotional, like, release. And then the confrontation was just too much to handle.
Right.
And so it was beautiful.
Wow.
I love him.
That's beautiful. You're beautiful.
You're breathtaking.
You're
so
breathtaking. Okay, hang on. But go ahead. You go, and I have a question.
I want to. So this wasn't a question in chat, but that gamer share said if schools focus. I just want to point this out. If schools focus less on force feeding, often inaccurate and non-relevant information, down kids' throats, and more on teaching kids how to think for themselves, we would be so much better as a society. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. And what Waffles replied for me in chat as well, but you brought up what I wanted to just point out as well. I keep saying, I have a feeling we're going to obviously touch on Strength of Thousands as a book, as an actual play as well on this. We're not going to be our full focus. I do want to also do a review of the book when we, maybe a couple years from now, maybe finish.
When we actually finish book one.
maybe when we finish it.
When its rage goes down.
The fact that Duval, you made Hideaki, who comes from, in my opinion, aspect of learning that touches into the emotional trauma, the unhealthy bits of it. The part that the book itself wrote in there that I was like, I would love to make this up. I probably would do this anyway, but it does it for me, is Teacher Aunt, and how Teacher Aunt is the exact thing that I think Hideaki needs, which is a teacher that wants to support multiple types of learning environments to help them succeed, and not force feed only one way of doing things, and say, if you learn differently, then how can I help you learn this way instead? How can I help you succeed? And I think I would love that in schools, honestly. Yeah,
please. Like, and I think, like, I even consider the fact that, like, I think the old like Montessori type learning was sort of like created for stuff like that. And now we don't even hear about it anymore. So I mean that says a lot. But yeah,
I went to Montessori like pre-K, I think. I still hear about those things, but it's to me always been pre-K. It's been nursery. It's
Really
been like
young,
little
yeah.
kids. It's not been high school. It's not been where you get the majority of your personal development as well. I would love that. Maria.
Oh, I just wanted to bounce the question back to you, Syrup, because you play a ton of NPCs and you make this world and everything like that. So I wanted to know, in your capacity as storyteller and GM in this game, what elements of yourself have you been able to interweave into the story, whether through characters, perspectives? Because most of the characters are they're written, but I mean, you are giving them a voice, and
not all of them have the personalities written that I have given them necessarily. So it is not a secret that this is my first time GMing a real thing. And it's been interesting to explore because I feel like as an AP, this one has very strong connected NPCs, not ones that pass by quickly, but ones that can stay. And it's been an interesting juggle to keep them all unique and have connections. So I think what I've in an opportunity to make sure that they are different, I have paralleled different ones to the people that I know in my life, to try to be like, well, let me get in this person's head, and it's kind of enlightened me in a different way to some of the people that I parallel them to understand, like, well, why are they this way, and like, is it a cover, is it a defense mechanism, all those kinds of things. I think that the one that is been the most challenging to explore, I don't know how to answer the question. I think I'm deflecting a little bit. I don't know how to answer the question because I haven't really considered one of them my own.
It's also still really early though when you think about it, right? Like
we're almost
really
a year in,
right? But when you think about it though, like we've been in game, we've been focused on our journey so far, and like everyone's been like interweaved and stuff like that, and I've nearly kicked in Ignacio's door 3 times, and like Transblowing Dawn is amazing, and I always forget the kobold's name, but he's my favorite, and who doesn't love Inkarut? But like that's like there's like a fucking 40 fucking NPCs in this fucking thing. Like it's a lot.
It really is. And like for example, like some of the stuff like the party when you guys came back from the introduction ceremony, like that wasn't in the book or anything like that. Like I wanted to make ways for you guys to feel a little bit closer and interact more casually with the NPCs. I think that I've not been wanting, not knowing where each of these NPCs go, I've not really wanted to put too much of myself in any one, though obviously the one that I attach to the most, like not the one NPC, but the one like characteristic that I tend to flare into is something that I pull from myself. I might template it off of another individual that I know in my life, but then I try to find the thread that I can embody, and I feel like as an individual I'm very empathetic to a fault, that it can be problematic for me, so I can at least explore a little bit of that in an interesting way with just embodying different NPCs, like just being able to do that. I do want to say, after each and every one of you have said your pieces, that I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you for trusting me with these pieces of yourselves, because it's wild for the first time that I GM'd to be able to have a piece of each of you as people that I don't want to hurt. I don't want to actually inflict any pain onto you, but you trust me with that. You trust me to navigate those sensitivities, and it means the absolute world to me. So thank you.
Well, that is something to say too, is that when you have a DM that you are willing to say, here is one of my scars, let's go.
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing to say. This is something of me that can be painful. I trust you with this.
Yep.
And you are definitely one of those people that I'd be like, here they are, have at it.
I also think there's a big the biggest difference between a good table and a great table is that vulnerability piece right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And I really didn't think I understood that until I started playing on actual plays and stuff. But really and truly, specifically this game. Truthfully.
We, as WMS, as you know, what Waffles and I have wanted to do always with TTRPGs was explore yourself through them. We believe wholeheartedly that TTRPGs can be an incredible force for good if you have the right table, if you implement the right safety tools, if you have healthy communication. As a disclaimer, neither myself nor Waffles are licensed therapists by any means.
What am I doing?
I thought.
Sorry, crap.
That was what the coffee donation was for.
It's something that I would love to explore. It's something that I explore myself. Oh, I just made myself really loud in my ears. It's something that I consider it something that I went through, if that makes sense. When I first joined the TTRPG sphere, the TTRPG sphere is what allowed me to have the confidence to pursue an ADHD diagnosis, which I received the last year. It's what allowed Waffles to, I think, start his autism journey.
Can I jump in there?
Go ahead.
Originally it's honestly what got me through high school, period. Because I had a small group of my cousin and his uncle that ran a game, and it was my sanity of the week for a while when I was getting older. And then when I was coming out of the military, going through a major bout of depression, the ability to just play online and have a connection with some people when I still didn't want to get out of the house, I can venture to say that it saved my life as well. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, and we both feel so very strongly about that we wanted, as a platform, as a company, to allow more of these stories to be told and a lot more of these journeys to be had, so to speak. So I think what you're telling me is that it's being successful, and that makes me really happy.
This is the worst game. This is my last time
game.
here, actually.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
We talked earlier, Duval. You've actually been in
Matter
zero
of fact,
sessions. Yeah, so it's not.
Come on, Tower, into the Dark Forest again. Let's go.
I think we talked about this too. This is the first game that I've ever been emotionally charged playing. I've played quite a few games. I have a 5-year campaign that we're running at a home game, and this game is the one that gets me close to tears. And this is the game that makes me rage when other characters are not being treated fairly. When Ark got that letter, I have never felt Mama Bear rage anything in a game before.
It hurt me to write that letter.
Art's here to be gaslit like Waffles has his whole life. So.
Oh.
But I think that's also an attestation to, one, the safety of our table, and two, the quality of the people at this table. That we get such emotional responses. It's whoever this person is for Ark, I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna push her off a cliff. That's just what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I'm gonna
it's a fucking race, Star. It's a fucking race.
I cannot wait for that chapter. But what you guys don't know is that secretly this is all a very convoluted plot, lab experiment, if you will, for me to do a GM talk show. To basically, I think that there's very important things that you can do as a GM that I've been able to explore and experience, and I want more experience before I do something like that, to pull this out of players. And when I pull it out, I mean consensually. I mean how do you make a table feel comfortable enough to do this? How do you allow your players to explore this while everyone's exploring things? How do you have the plot not get lost? Like, all of these things are things that I'm trying and learning how to balance as we go. And just one of those tidbits would be akin to Maria, the conversation that we had before a session. I would encourage everybody, like, as just have check-ins one-on-one with those players as and you ask them those questions of like, hey, what's Tal thinking right now?
Oh my goodness, the
How are you gonna
conversation
step
before
into
this
Yaki
last
today?
episode. Yeah, literally though. Like, the conversation that we had prior to this last episode, there was so much that I uncovered in my own head about Tal that made that conversation, that confrontation, I should say, with
That's exactly what that
Hideaki
was. Yeah.
so much more meaningful, more powerful, because I was able to see and read Hideaki for filth based on only my perception of him.
What a fucking statement!
I mean, well, the thing is, right? You're
wrong.
not Tal. You're living your day to day. You're not Tal. And while you want to explore this facet of yourself, I want to give you an opportunity and a space to process as Tal for a moment when we're not live in game with 100 things happening at the same time. And so far, that's made a difference, and it's been really, really awesome. Okay, I knew this would happen. We're just like talking away. Meanwhile, we have like answered one question.
Hey,
Have you met us?
It's all good.
Have you met us? Yes.
All right, so if you ever wondered what our after show talks are
It's this. It's literally
this is it.
Yeah.
And
Honestly,
we do it for like 2.5 hours after we pop off the game.
Yeah.
we sign off at midnight, and the next thing we know, it's 2:30 in the morning, and we're like, oh, tomorrow's Friday.
Ooh. Well,
I gotta go to work. It's a school night.
Hell.
I want to talk
Jordan-
before we jump into our next question. I want to hype on something that that gamer share said in chat about being nervous about their upcoming thing. The biggest piece of advice I can give anyone who is starting a new campaign is just talk to your players.
Yep.
Yes.
Just talk. If you're running a game, being able to talk to your players before you start, like Waffle said in the chat, session zeros are, I'm gonna be on this hill for the 1,000th years, and if there's professional quote unquote GMs that are touting about session zeros in talks and everything, so like they're important, y'all. Not just for safety, but because it gives you, as a person who is running a game, a chance to talk to your players as people, to say, hey, these are things that how do you want to play this game? Do you want it to be action? Do you want it to be comedy? Do you want it to be scary?
Tone.
Do you want it to be these things? So that you're all on the same page, and then also not being afraid or ashamed to talk to your players. And as players, you should talk to your other players and your GMs as well.
As DMs, we want you to talk to us. Please do.
Please talk to us. Please
talk to us. Please talk to us.
Talk to us.
But
So lonely.
constantly talking to your players, or as players to your GM, about like, this is the direction that, like, I have questions about your character. Are these things you want to explore? You know, like checking in, being like, hey, I noticed, you know, maybe you weren't talking as much in the session if they've been talking a lot previously. Also, don't always make your players talk. Sometimes they just want to sit there and enjoy. It's fine. But like the communication in whatever way that your players and or GM are comfortable in communicating to each other, just talk to each other. Just it's you're trying to build friendships as well, presumably, hopefully. But at the very least, that open line of communication between you as a player or a GM with your other players or GMs is just it's so important. So important to make something like similar to this happen. Yeah.
For sure. And a quick addition to that, I'll give you the permission that you probably never think of, but you definitely need. It is okay. I've done it before. Sometimes you have to. It is okay to have a session zero and then say, you know what, this one player, I like you, but you're not a fit for this campaign. Like, you need to cater your table to what that campaign is going to be.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I understand as well that, you know, there's an appreciation for everybody that you've brought so far as an individual, as a person, and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and things like that. And so, you know, it's not confrontation, but still having that conversation and saying this isn't a good fit is a very difficult thing to navigate, regardless. So I'll remind as well that, like, this is for the happiness and health of everybody at the table, because from personal experience and things that we've kind of gone through in iterations and such in the past, like with what we've had, those harsh realizations, we've had you know, tables where everybody wants to play a different game in a way, due to lack of, or just how, honestly, it just happened, and it doesn't really matter how, but it existed. And so now what do you do? How do you handle this? There's different aspects if you're holding this as a actual play, like if this is something that you're presenting to the world. Think about how the enjoyment of the players with each other makes for an enjoyable experience as well for people listening and watching and things like that. But at its core, like, just remember, you are not telling somebody that their way is wrong, that if they're just different, exactly, and that you also, it's not just about the players. You as a GM, you can have a preference. You can have a preference for the game that you want to run.
You are a player as much as the players are players.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And I will tout this forever and ever. As a GM, you too have lines and veils that need to be respected, so make sure those are brought across as well.
Yes.
Bingo, bingo.
Yep.
Bingo. Amazing.
Go
ahead.
I just wanted to add one more thing into this conversation, because then everyone's giving really good tips. As a GM, it's much easier to play the villain. It's much easier to have those... This is just a personal experience of mine that I think other people run into. It's much easier to be mean to characters when you're being the villain and nice to them when you're being NPCs, but when you are a PC, it can be a little bit harder to navigate that, having a harsh conversation with another player, and not coming across like I'm not attacking you as a player. Our PCs are having at ads. So these, yes, that's what I'm saying. These,
check-ins.
The fact that my GM checks in with me to see how my day is going with everybody else. So, you know, like, if I'm like, there's been a couple times that some of us have been like, I'm at a 4 today. So we all kind of know, like, okay, navigating that, you know, you may be a little bit more emotional, you may be a little bit more angry.
Maybe tonight is not the night we have that big confrontation.
I would have come in and said, you know what, my day was a 2. Tal definitely would not have come that hard.
Probably not that hard.
At the same time, if it does get too much, I have confidence in my other players that they're going to go put up the X and be like, this is too much, we got to pull off. That, as someone with like me that has that problem with maybe making somebody upset, this helps me greatly to maybe navigate going into that.
Yeah, even if you don't have to, even if you don't use like these cards,
having
the stop or that, the fact that we have them to be like, if at any point for whatever reason, you know, we have the option to say, hey, we got to slow down for a hot second, or we got to stop and go back, you know?
The confidence that you're able to embody with having these available, not in play, just available, allows you to perform at your best. And then you get amazing role play like we had last session.
I want to jump on that, actually.
Crying real tears.
Yeah, I want to jump on that too, because I'm so grateful for all of you, specifically for your timing on those, because I was so locked in. I'd been locked in for like maybe like a half an hour of just like, let's fucking do this. But it was more important, and it always, by the way, is more important that everyone's safe and fucking cool, right? With this, because I knew that the guns were pointed at me, and I had some firepower coming back that way too, right? It's so it's supposed to be, it's a fucking game. It's supposed to be fun. Last thing I'll say on that, because a lot of shit has been said. The scariest fucking thing is 5 minutes before session 1, and then you pull the trigger anyway, and you hit the go live button anyway. And magic happens because you made sure that everybody was safe. You had a great session 0, and you're telling a story. You're having a good time.
And you trust your fellow team. your fellow players, your fellow GM.
That's the hardest part, by the
Yeah.
way, is realizing this is why us doing vibe checks is something that I didn't really do before that I really do now. Is I didn't think about the fact that like if someone's having an off day, like then cool, like then we rally around and like it's good, and we're still gonna tell a really cool story and have a fucking great ass time.
Yeah.
So,
The amount of times where it can help in the subtle ways of like if you're having a bad day and Waffles, can I, if you don't mind, I'll use you as a example.
Yeah, I was gonna raise my hand if you didn't, so.
You know, with Waffles and the social aspect and autism affecting that every single day, if you're having a rough day, and depression, if you're having a rough day, and listen, y'all, we get it. Your brain lies to you. Like, it happens all the time, whether it's imposter syndrome, whether it's depression, whether it's hundreds of other things. We know this, and that's when you can reach out for that support, but sometimes it's hard to reach out. And so the fact that in front of a game we have this vibe check, we go around and we give everybody an opportunity to say as much or as little as they want. We say 1 through 10, how you doing? And you can just say I'm at a 3 and leave it at that if that's the spoons that you have, or you can say I'm at a 3 because I lost my job, I had a rough day, I had any number, like anything, and you can explain, you can talk a little bit about it, and you have the support of the people and empathy. And then in the sessions, if you're a little quiet, your team can rally around you and bring you in as much or as little as you need because we've communicated about it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Waffles.
I was just gonna add that, like, with my depression, PTSD, and autism mix for a amazing cocktail. And by amazing, that's my attempted sarcasm.
Bless us.
But
It's colorful for sure.
yeah. But commonly, what I will say, if I'm having a rough day, and maybe this will just help anyone out there, because I know sometimes it's hard to talk about like how rough stuff is for yourself. So I will say stuff like, yeah, I'm at like a 3. It's been rough recently, but I really want to be here. So my 3 might make me, like, y'all might have to pull me into conversations. But I want to be in those conversations, kind of thing. So, like, that vibe check lets people help you be there more. And
Yeah.
I found that,
Yeah.
like, especially with my autism and stuff, that helps a lot if I'm having a bad day.
Yeah,
So
and
we're
it's
always really excited when you're here, Waffles.
Yeah.
Really,
Yes.
very much
Yes.
so.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
What an interesting thing that I've noticed is when one or multitudes of us have like low days, like the low vibe checks at the beginning of episodes, 99.9% of the time by the end of the episode, because we are all there and we all communicated how we were feeling at the beginning and everything, and the others who were maybe at like an 8 or a 10 or 1,000 a lot of times can in the best possible way pick up and carry the rest of us through the session to make it so that by the time that we're in an end, at the end of the episode, maybe we were at a 3 or a 2 even at the beginning, but then by the end, you know, we might not be a 10, but we could be up to like a 7, and you know, being able, and then afterwards just talking, maybe if we feel like it, about like the hard stuff that has been happening, and you know, being able to trust each other to one, help us put on a good show, because we like to do that, but also it's that safety of knowing that like I don't have to be at 100% today in this moment, because I know that everyone is going to help, like what Waffles was saying, everyone else is going to be able to help pull me into conversations and help, you know, flourish things when I'm not exactly like picking up on things, or I'm not like my headspace isn't entirely here today, and it's okay. You know, I'm still here.
The little quick we're gonna get to a question like one day.
We're gonna do
Maybe.
get to
but
them.
Specifically, I can't point it out enough, that comfort, that understanding, everything you just said, Maria, coming from a GM. We're putting on a show. We're putting on an actual play. I feel a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to set tone, to to be at 100%. Let's be honest. I really, really do. And when you're first starting and you're not confident as a GM, which is very valid, and or any number of things, or you're having a bad day, it's daunting. It is absolutely daunting. It is this, especially because we go live and we hold a show that, you know, gets put on YouTube afterwards and everything. I have moments where I'm like, what if I'm not good enough right now? Would it be better to cancel? Would it be better to cancel? I'm probably not great right now. And
then you are great.
The safety, it has more than once put me over the edge of like, no, I trust my players. That's going to be good once I get there. The rest will fall away because this is an enjoyment, and it's a game that I get to enjoy. It's not all pressure. It's not all responsibility. It is a joyful experience for me as a GM as well. And I have that safety net of being able to tell y'all, like, I'm a mess today. And then guess what? Probably I trip up on my words so much more those sessions, and it just becomes something we laugh at and we enjoy, and it is such a relief. So it's helpful on both sides.
And I know we've had a couple times, or at least one time that I can remember of Syrup letting us know, like, it's been a rough week. I haven't been able to plan very much. And we as players knew, all right, it is our time to step up and take care of this. And we
say no more, fam.
Honestly.
What kind of emotional conversation would you like us to do for an hour and a half? We can do that.
We got it.
So,
That means we can role
especially
play
if you're
and
doing
Syrup can't stop it.
Exactly. So it's like, especially if you're doing an actual play, if you can communicate with your players, like, I have had a rough time getting ready this week, I need you guys to step up. Your players should be able to do that. Then,
oh my God,
honestly, it's not hard for us to do it.
Not have to hide everything behind a veil.
No.
You can say, I didn't have a lot of time to prep today. I'm not sure what's going to happen after this. Cool.
Right.
You can tell that, communicate that to your players.
Super.
It's all right. You're human. You are human. You do not have to be perfect as a GM either. Oh,
Yeah. Also,
my gosh.
most of the stuff you planned isn't going to happen anyway.
Isn't going to happen anyway. Yep.
True,
Let's
true.
go. Yep.
100%. Okay. All right. I'm cutting us off. Let's go. Next question.
All right. Questions. Let's go. Questions.
GM talk show you want to do, you can do it.
Right. I really want to.
Just did it for the last
I'll
hour,
ask this
so.
one because you're the only one answering. You ready?
Oh, no. Okay, go for it.
From D&D Jordan Lee. Question to Syrup. What has been the most surprising thing for you that the players have latched onto?
I've been thinking about this question for a bit, and I'm getting progressively distracted as well. All right. Surprising, but also not surprising. The myceloids.
That's what I was thinking.
Let's be real.
Research.
It happened.
Our whole identity for the next month and a half. Let's go.
Yeah. It happened. I knew it was gonna happen. It was really rough. It got rougher than I anticipated, but we handled that.
Certainly.
Rip tell. It's fine. Which is great. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, monsters, D&D, or TTRPGs, Pathfinder2e, we got this. It happens. Moving on. Da. And then just being like slapped in the face with, I will find this myceloid village and I will burn it down and I will absolutely not let this go. At 110%. There are like all of this thing that happened progressively afterwards, and I was like,
It's not in the book.
it's not in the book, guys.
Not in the book.
This myceloid. Okay, I will figure it out. We're gonna have an interview with some of the writers of this book, and I'm going to the first question.
That's the first fucking question.
All of them
I'm
into
taking them to
all
task.
sense of security, and then we're going to slam them with this question.
We're gonna be like, we
we love
absolutely
we
love
clip the fight.
everything
We
about
clip the
this
fight.
book.
Yeah.
We clip the fight and the aftermath.
Your book
Yeah,
is
and we're like-
amazing. We have watched it, so we love all of it. Odd is amazing. We love Anchorwood, even some of the terrible characters. The fuck with the mic in it.
Like, what's happening?
This is myceloid village.
Just
Yeah,
one small
it
complaint.
doesn't exist in the book. It's not there at all. To an extent, though, like, I kind of get it, and it's the reason it really surprised me is because, like, I was kind of going into it like, y'all, this is a TTRPG universe. There's monsters out in the woods. That's kind of expected.
Sure.
That's like that's a thing. that I thought most people kind of go into. Like, there's gonna be a tavern, and you're gonna get quests at a tavern. Like, this is TTRPGs. There's certain things that you're not gonna
No.
question.
School though.
And then the
Yo.
fact that this was a magic school, that we got so into these characters that it got personal, and that these Myceloid is also personal, it surprised me very
Yo,
much.
it's like
in the
Hideaki's
best
about to become a serial killer, y'all. Like, it was about to go down.
The whole thing though, like it was very funny because it reminded me of like an old school video game, not open world, but like you do a mission and you're like, oh, there's this one kind of creature, now I'm gonna go hunt them down, and then you just run into this invisible wall that says, sorry, this is outside the scope of this video game. You cannot
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It was the first flex of not flex, but like stretching of my GM skills, though. Of like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if this has to happen, I'm not gonna stop you. That's your feelings and your character are 100% valid. So, my turn to like pick it up and say, okay, well, what's gonna happen? And the reality of it is, to an extent, like, y'all got your butts kicked by peeling the veil behind a little bit. That was a weakened Myceloid.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And we missed a lot. We missed a fucking lot. too.
The dice rolls
The
are
dice were
rolls.
very against us.
But to an extent, Hideaki, hey, you wanna go find a village of those guys? You wanna try to put yourself?
Oh
against all
yeah.
of them?
No, of course.
Okay, let's see
I'm
what
not
happens.
gonna-
Syrup's
I'm
out
not
here
gonna
like
lie.
Syrup's out here like this
Go
was
ahead.
the first flex of my GM skills because I killed somebody.
I checked that box.
Wow.
Syrup
I
got a
don't-
GM death check card before I did. But in terms of questions though, because there was a question that we had written down for each other, and my question for Hideaki is Hideaki still planning against or still plotting against the Myconids?
Yep. Nope, without a doubt.
Incredible.
Does that surprise you? I'm sure it doesn't.
I'm
but
going to find a way to incorporate it. I have no doubt. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be year 3, and it's gonna be
It's
a
gonna be
callback.
Book 3 is gonna be a callback, and it's gonna be like the BBG all along.
Oh my god, the payouts. 5 years down the line in our real life, and we're gonna be able to like finally confront these things.
I didn't know Hideaki could go Super Saiyan.
I know, right? What's really interesting about your question, though, Star, is I think, especially since we've been doing a lot of timey-wimey stuff, right? Like, because I mentioned, like, in-game, like, he's researching this and he's researching the Astral Sea, right? And like, that's definitely still in the back of his mind, but he also recognizes the fact that, like, that's not why you're here. So it's such a like, and then fucking natural 20 at school, and so like now you're like all eyes are on you, like you don't really have
I
time to do
adore
this.
the dice for helping me tell the most amazing story. I couldn't. Hideaki getting a nat 20? Yes, please. Yes, please.
I think any other result would have broke my heart. I feel, to be fucking honest, I really do.
It's so funny
talking
how
all
you
that
not
shit,
expect
and then you
it.
roll a 1.
You cannot expect it, but then you see how it like turned out. You see how it actualized, and you couldn't ask for anything better. It's my favorite thing about TTRPGs. Trust in the dice. It's
Nice.
amazing. I couldn't write on my own a better story than what dice allowed
That's all
me
we
to tell.
play.
Yeah, for sure. That's why you roll them.
That's why you're
Before we get
roll,
to the next
roll.
question, I think D&D Jordan Lee has it out for me, and is trying to make me cry.
Good.
She
Yes.
does.
Right.
Make her
Good.
cry.
But-
Like Sarah.
Good. Great.
Jordan said, moment to say a quick thank you to Syrup. Seeing you come into your own as a DM helped motivate me and help me become a better DM. And that
She's
means
not
so
alone.
much to me. It's like, I just thank you, honestly. Like, you're also absolutely wonderful, Jordan. And I watched your, we're going to talk about it a little quick. Jordan debuted a new show recently. It's on twitch.tv/D&D Jordan Lee. It's called Ampistrano. And I watched how you started that off and how you narrated and set the scene and how you're including the music. And I see all the things that you're doing that are marvelous and wonderful and enjoyable to watch. And I'm just here like, man, you're so talented. This is amazing. And then to hear you say that, like, that I had anything to do with it, like, is more than my brain can comprehend. And so thank you very much.
We love a supportive friendships.
Yeah!
Okay, another question.
Next question. That's
This is the great next question to follow this up. What's everyone's favorite meme from the meme stream? Says
There's way too
Alex.
many.
I've been scrolling back up and down, up and down.
I wanted to get ready for this one.
I have an honorable mention or a favorite. I don't know. All of the ones that were posted about the letters when we got them, that were in like Blue's Clues style letters.
I want to preface to anybody that doesn't know what this question is about. Alex Aguinas is an amazing. He has honorary title of Meme King, and it is well earned in our Discord channel, which I encourage everybody to join. And it's a fun time. But there is a Outcast and Outclassed Talk channel where Alex manages somehow with magic to live meme our streams, which is wild and beautiful. And Alex, my favorite, to answer your question, is probably the one that I immediately grabbed and tweeted about because it was like, okay, now I've peaked as a GM. It's the GM badass armed with emotional trauma, and then like the running away Hideaki talent. I was like, yes.
That was pretty good.
And feel free to anybody to.
There's just way too many.
I've got one. Mine is the swear jar one, and the other one that's full is Hideaki devises an irrational reason to dislike someone at the school jar.
Yes.
Which is great because now that I revealed that he really doesn't feel that way at all, it makes that even more memorable.
I think one of the good ones is Ark sitting there with a cup of coffee that says, "Why do people keep leaving things in front of my door?" And there's a
That's so funny.
So funny. Like Alex made all of our characters in Hero Forge, by the way,
Which is ridiculous.
unprovoked by any of us, and it was amazing. And really, they did it so that they could make more memes that were specifically our characters.
I'm sorry, I did not realize that everybody's purposefully still in the wrong camera slots right now. Hilarious.
We're still there.
I apologize for how confusing that might be to anybody. This is on
It's
purpose.
fine.
We have our names down, so hopefully that helps a little. Like
It's
it says
fine.
Talyatya Happy Capster, like so.
That's true. I'm
Okay,
not
okay.
Waffles.
I will say, as I'm
That's-
going through the memes, I keep going, that one's good, that one's better, that one's better, that one's
I-
better, that one's
Yeah.
better.
That
All
was
right,
so
so
good.
since Star Soul mine, I'm gonna go to my
Sorry.
second favorite one. No, that's absolutely okay. So I like the ones where all of our Hero Forge characters are in there, but this one was one of my favorite. So it's a very long one. It's Patrick talking to Manta Ray.
Yeah.
So it goes, you like being around us because you know us. Arc 2, yes. You're excited that you're in our class. Arc 2, which is Patrick, that's right. Those are all traits that people would attribute to their friends. Logical, based on the definition of the word friend. So we're friends. No, we're not friends.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So
good.
Oh.
Also, I'm so sorry for the confusion about the things, but also thank you very
Don't
much
be. It's really funny.
about the layout.
me to switch
That
this
is
back
they're
around?
sexy
But
and delightful. Yes.
as
Let's
a sidebar
Let's
to
switch
that
back
meme,
around. Let's do it.
I feel like GM Badass Syrup, I would like to demand that if we ever become friends with Arc 2, it immediately triggers a level up at that moment.
Immediately for all of us. All of
I have
us.
to say no to that. I'm so sorry. I have to say no so that when it happens, you guys are surprised.
Dang it!
I have to throw another one in the ring now too. Is the GM badass armed with emotional damage guy jumping up into?
That's the one. That
up to
was the one that I was saying was my favorite.
Yeah.
So yes.
Peak.
But then there's also when we were getting those tattoos and Hideaki's like, oh, I got this really great idea for tattoos for everyone, and it's just an arm, and on the back it just says trauma.
That's pretty good.
I
Yeah.
must have missed that one. Oh, that's amazing. Just real quick, I'm a graphic designer, and I've weirdly it's not my day job. I want to get more into it, and I'm also shout out to Jordan for commissioning me to flex some of those design skills. I found weirdly that overlays are like a amazing challenge that I adore now. Like I don't know what it is, but like there's so much
Tasty.
information to incorporate that like there's so many restrictions, which makes you have to design really smart. Foos, I'm just gonna call you Foos, if that's okay. We have another amazing designer in the TTRPG space in our Discord, and there's very, very often times when the wonderful Beetle and Grim grace us with a product to review, that those streams tend to literally just be me and geeking out over like, look at the feel of this paper, look at this design. So if you do like design stuff, there's space for you here too. But anyways, go ahead, sorry. Did everybody answer their meme? Waffles, you did.
Yeah.
Sorry, you did. Duval, you did. Very did. Okay, good. Let's.
Wait, can I throw one more in the ring?
Yeah.
Always.
I love all of our letter ones. It's we just got a letter of Blue's Clues. But specifically, I'm gonna call it Arts because it goes, we just got a letter. I wonder who it's from, and then he opens it, and the next scene it says emotional regression.
Oh, so accurate, so good.
I love that so much. The one that tickles me the
so
most
good.
with the letters is the one that he had to change like 3 times.
Yeah.
I think it was Araphase.
Araphase.
Or was it Arcs? It was
No,
it was Araphase. Yeah, he's like, nope, that's not. Oh, nope, that's wrong too. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I love
Amazing.
that.
So fucking
Was it when we started with Araphase, we were like, oh look, yay, another
Yeah, and then
happy.
Hers was last,
Heartbreak.
I think, and since
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah,
they were all like
it was-
super emotional and bad, and then Araphase sounded like it started off normally, and so the first
Yeah.
meme goes, "We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from." And it opens and says, "It's a normal ass letter."
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, or like wholesome or something. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's right.
I love
And then it absolutely
Amazing.
wasn't, because as you
It
kept
was-
reading it, we're all like, what? What?
Oh no.
Stop. What?
This is getting worse. Amazing.
Also based on the GM talk we had earlier, Syrup sent real letters to people in the mail.
Yeah, actual
Yeah.
physical letters with like
I still have
wax
mine on my
seals,
desk.
and they're all like
those are
personalized.
props, okay.
And like
Yeah.
props are great, and like I was
handwritten.
lucky, and I got 2 letters.
Yeah, you did.
Well, Maria, you
Beefy
also
bro.
got like a present too.
I also got a present. It's on my ankle. Feet. That was
And
feet, and
we're-
we're gonna have
and
to
we're
blur
banned.
that out forever.
And we're banned. Great.
Blur it.
Whoops.
So we have one more question in queue, guys. We're actually
Oh my
by the way,
gosh.
it shouldn't have to be said. I use guys gender neutral, just so everybody knows.
To be clear.
Just to be clear. But we have one more question, and it's probably gonna be a long one, but get some more questions in. Let's
Oh, yeah.
get more names.
And I'm sure we still have questions for each other too.
Questions.
Oh, that's yeah,
Yeah.
we got plenty. So the question for all by that gamer share. Favorite character moment so far. Let's start with Hideaki.
It's hard to pick the Tau confront. It's hard not to pick the Tau confrontation. Both me as a player and like I really truly feel that was like 15 episodes in the making. Like I went back and watched some of episode 1 and I was like, who is that? Like, never seen him before in my life. So much has fucking happened. While also like accomplishing a lot. But I think like that moment, that confrontation is only up-leveled by the success of like that afternoon, and like him making like maybe truly one of the first unselfish decisions of his entire life, and not going in that 3rd time, and then that working, like just like that's why I was like, oh man, this is gonna be so bad. Like he's. But that's when I was because one of my secrets as both the GM as a player is like shortly before I'll just like hop in the shower and just like shut off the world for a minute, and that's when I realized I was like, oh man, like he can't even look at them without bursting into tears. Speaking of Tal, I'm talking about Tal here, and I was like, well, why? And then I was like, oh man, because I talked to Maria about like how Hideaki might be feeling about Tal. And like if that journey makes sense for them as well, but I also in my head I was like, but he's got to earn it. He's got to fucking earn it. So like we were playing the long
as the GM, I want you to know I will absolutely make you earn it.
Yeah. We love that. We love that. But yeah, I think both of those two. Yeah, I've watched it 5 times. I've cried every time. It's just really weird when passing you makes you cry. Yeah.
I make myself cry.
I made myself cry. What does this all mean? Yeah. If you haven't seen last episode, like, whew, it's a doozy.
It's juicy.
There was so many good conversations in that lapse between like
they're
all
like
four,
what,
all four
yeah,
of us.
everyone.
Everyone.
Y'all had an amazing scene. I do not want to overshadow the amazing Arafe arc interactions too.
I
So true.
was so
Incredible.
glued to that. It was
Incredible.
so good.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Super. Oh, and I will say shout out to Maria for showing that scene on her channel and making her entire community cry.
Live. It was live. I watched it. I was in an emotional state of being in a blanket.
You were in a burrito.
Y'all want to watch this really cool thing that we did last night?
This emotional burrito time, but it was so funny because I think I was on lunch because it was like during the work week. I was at lunch with Waffles, and Duval jumps into our chat with like this crew and being like, I heard you're doing a live like watch or something, like I'm coming, and like I was like, wait, what? And so literally like we paused whatever's on TV and I pulled it up on my Discord on my phone, and I was like, all right, we're
I was doing work, so I was like, I can't.
And I will say one last thing. I did not know it was possible to connect with a character on this level that I've connected with Hideaki at. And like I think that's why it's also so memorable for me, is like, damn bro, you didn't have to go that hard, man. Like, damn, all right.
You absolutely needed to go that hard because that's what was needed.
It was.
I'm gonna shower everybody with compliments constantly, but I don't want to forget anything, so we're gonna interrupt whatever I think about it for a compliment. Duval, I saw that face. You were like, oh no. Listen, I see how much you love and you care about Hideaki and how much of yourself that you're putting into Hideaki. I adore when you are in my DMs theorizing and doing all sorts of things to get ready for next sessions and things like that. But I want to call out the performance side of TTRPGs and how you're doing here. Like, I think like watching you, enthusiasm and everything, that's amazing, but it doesn't always translate into the beautiful performance that you have put yourself through with Hideaki. I don't even have the words. Like, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, thanks.
You're doing so good. It's amazing.
I also want to say too, as I know I've kind of said like I have a hard time kind of going up there, but seeing someone else do it feels like I'm getting permission to try. So you're also very much helping other people.
Oh. Guys, I don't want this.
Cry now, okay?
Oh, thank you. That's really nice, everybody. Thanks so much. Okay, I will melt now. Thanks.
Okay.
Because we talked about a definite favorite scene, Maria, would you like to take the next quick? Or not,
well, I'm not going to say that one because I also like that one. Because it was very cathartic and interesting. And I'm going to briefly touch on something because I was going through my notes before I talk about my favorite scene. That before we even started, I missed character creation, y'all, because I was doing another thing that was going on at the exact same time. Yeah. And I'm bad at scheduling things. So my first interaction with 90% of this crew was the first episode. But I wanted to do a little bit of like thinking about characters and stuff like that. So I wrote down a list of things, which you can't really see. It's very, very white. But on here is a list specifically of Tal's fears. And I want you to play a little game with me and see how many of these were checked off during the first 15 episodes. First fear, failing to help someone. Second fear, death. Third fear, betrayal. Fourth fear, causing someone pain. Fifth fear, loneliness. Sixth fear, unknown powers coming from me.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Wow.
This was all written before we played the game.
I just wanted
Jesus. That's incredible. Holy fuck. That's
So
a
what
lot.
you're saying is you've chucked off your bucket list and we need a new character now.
Yep. No,
Some more fears. Tal has faced all the fears. But no, the one that really sticks out to me, is the conversation. There are two conversations. One was a brief one where Tal went shopping while everybody was dealing with chicken problems. That moment that Tal was like, I'm actually gonna go do something else, was such a like me moment of like, oh, y'all got this taken care of, great, I'm gonna go look at this shiny thing over here. But being able to like have that little interaction it made me relax a little bit, but being able to talk to this little child who is just doing their best and doesn't think that they're good, and being able to be like, no, actually your things are really good, I would like to buy all of them, please. Being able to make that decision in character, because that's something that I always wish that I could do for someone else, was just like, my heart grew 3 times that day, because I was just like, 3 times.
I was completely blindsided by that, by the way.
Yay.
And the fact that it gets a mention when it was pulled out of thin air is
it was so good.
Yeah.
The other one though was the conversation that Tal had with Ark about being friends. That will always stick in. It's stuck in Tal's mind, but it will always stick in my mind, because in that conversation we kind of talked about it, or rather you mentioned it, Waffles, in describing what you put into Ark, and you also kind of touched on it, Syrup. But the idea that like having to interact, or being able to interact with someone who doesn't process the world the same way you do, that's something that I think Tal is trying to navigate with Ark specifically, because they are intellectually surprisingly similar in how they see things, but the perspective in which they view things is so vastly different that from Tal's perspective, Tal almost gets it, almost understands it, but there's just enough that Tal doesn't get, that it's frustrating for her to be able to try to connect on like any kind of non-intellectual level with Ark. And that conversation was really interesting and enlightening for me as a person, to realize that is also sometimes how I had to learn how to check myself, because that's sometimes how I go into conversations with people that I don't like, because I'm not on the same wavelength as a lot of people.
Yes.
Realizing that, oh, people do see things in different ways, and it's not bad. I just don't get it. And that doesn't mean it's a bad way of seeing things.
I want to mention about that in particular, because it hits very, very close to home with me as well in the journey that I've been through recently. With the acceptance and interest of, by the way, Tal, Maria, I messaged you privately about exactly this to an extent recently. I won't share all of it, because things will come up out of that. But
and you can share things. That's fine. We'd love to hear it.
Today's the day for sharing, right? It's the time for share. Just let's share everything, right?
Secrets. I am the keeper of secrets, and I love this, by the way. So Tal has a very unique seat in regards to this, because like you mentioned, that previous interaction, which means a lot to me, that it meant so much to you as a person as well, by the way. But interestingly, Tal came from a background of acceptance. It's a circus. There's all kinds of individuals and all talents that don't. It's not the only like academic society that we kind of live in, right? Where like, oh, did you graduate from college or not? That's what clearly demarks your value. Like, that makes sense. Do you have a piece of paper? But but that's not Tal's background. Tal has that unique acceptance in how they grew up. But to still be challenged by this, I think speaks a lot to a challenge and a learning thing that I think a lot of individuals need to recognize. We are, and this is a gentle call out in a, I don't really totally want to get into it, but like, we know that the ttrpg space that we have in the social media space, we tout how accepting and welcoming it is. And it truly is. It really, really is. It's amazing. And I think that there has to be at certain points recognition that you can want to be as accepting and think you are all encompassing and accepting. And that doesn't mean that you don't still have more to learn. That doesn't mean that you can't change how you think about certain things. And that's a journey that I went through. I thought I was super accepting. I thought I was understanding. I am empathetic. I know how everybody thinks, right? No, no, I don't.
And
I
didn't know you were talking to Hideaki. Okay, calm down.
And Waffles, as patient and kind and as amazing as he is, has allowed me the space and the grace to make those mistakes and to still be allowed to learn and course correct and to grow as a person. And so who I am now after my journey of learning what autism actually is and living with someone as a partner and all of these things has enlightened me immensely and has made me a better person. And I still have more to learn just by the way. So just remember that as accepting and as welcoming as you are, try not to assume and be open with your eyes and ears, and there's more to learn. There's more. Sorry, total sidebar. It is important to me. But I think Tal's in a very unique seat to also go on a very similar journey.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
Oh, the question is favorite moments, and since I talked about Arc, how Waffles.
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 Oh goodness.
Waffles.
I got two. I'm just gonna say them and then let y'all talk about them because I'm not good at that part. So my two are, I wanted to be selfish and include one with art, but it's actually not my favorite moment of the whole place. So the Arc Tal conversation, the first one about kind of the meme I hit on, like, so you do all these things, we do all these things make you friends, but you're not our friend, Arc. And it was very specifically between Arc and Tal, like, so are you my friend? And Arc was basically like, no. That was probably my favorite like art moment of the whole
Perfect.
show. My favorite moment of the whole show, I'm probably gonna steal Syrups or maybe even Stars, but my favorite moment of the whole show, because I saw how much work went into it, was the dream scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just by far, because so much work went into it. Syrup probably wrote like 4 pages, and I got to play musician behind the scenes, so it was super fun.
Oh my god.
I didn't want to mention that one, but that is also like way up there.
That one's the series favorite for me.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Oh
the
my
pinnacle of, and that's the thing, like, 3 of us were like watching this just like engaged, not doing anything, and I would still say that is the cherry on top of this series so far.
No doubt. No doubt.
Who knew Death could be so cool? Who knew?
Syrup's embodiment of the entity, Tal playing her character so perfectly, Waffles with the music scores hitting at the right time, and then I'm just gonna say me and Duval just sit in the back going, oh my god.
Like literally, like we're muted, and the chat is just like, oh my god, it's just so good. Oh my god, it's so good.
But like interwoven in that like whole sequence, the like coming back to the reality of like y'all doing the actual process, you know, with Syrup embodying these NPCs who are trying to help, and then all of y'all in the ways that you feel like you can or can't help. Like, just so much of those little tiny things that really reinforce your characters and like how they are in that moment, with like, you know, Arafe basically dying at the same time and nobody really knowing. Like,
I'm fine. You have to help Tal. I'm fine.
god.
It was the good stuff.
That was very good.
So now
What a
it's
great call
Aerofay.
Now
What was your second one? You said you had two.
Oh,
no, it was the
it was
conversation.
the same
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say my favorite character moment and then my favorite game moment. The game moment is the dream for effing sure.
Yeah, undefeated.
Undefeated. But I think for my character moment, it was just more of like a sequence of events that happened over a couple episodes. So, because for me, like, I am generally a combat-oriented player. So the fact that I took a support class has been a real struggle. But the moment of Aerofay actually feeling like she wasn't being helpful during the fight and realizing that she actually was extremely helpful.
Oh my God, and you were so badass
Give me
at
fucking
this.
pee.
And then Hideaki coming back and reminding me, like, see, I told you. And her having that moment of, okay, I'm getting there. And then turning to see Ark with the disappointment. And in the background having that thought process of how she realized Ark and her are the same, but they see it differently. They're both going for perfection. They both feel they need to get there. And Aerofay is just seeing that now she's celebrating the small steps there, and Ark is just disappointed he's not there yet. And the following conversation we had. So, like, just that whole string of things is probably my favorite part for Aerofay in this.
Oh my god.
Especially because it came down to that thing again of realizing a different way of thinking and knowing it's not wrong, but realizing you can kind of learn from each other to make both better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also think like something that you just said made me realize is like Ark is the emotional center of the party. And that's fucking weird. That's fucking
gosh.
so strange. But it's absolutely true. Like, it's so interesting.
Aerofay definitely sees Ark as her, like, opposite balance.
Yeah.
Because she's very emotional. She's very much... She reacts based on what she thinks the situation is happening and her intuition in that moment. Whereas Ark is that person that sees the details, sees the information, sees the data, and makes the choice that makes sense. So she sees them as just kind of counterbalances. So she actually respects Ark quite a bit and honestly always wants to know what he's thinking because she thinks they can make the better choice together.
Listen, that's a mood. That's amazing.
It was a realization Star came today when she was thinking about questions.
Love that.
Nice.
Nice. Syrup, what about you?
Oh gosh.
You're a player too.
Yeah.
I think I feel like I've been talking so much, like I don't even answer.
Talk more, please.
We like talking to you more. You like talking. We like talking more.
The more you talk, the more we can glint things from you and maybe learn. Maybe you let a couple things slip.
And
you just wanna-
we
you want
like
the
to
secret.
hear your insights on things because you're a smart and intelligent and creative person who has really good ideas and thoughts.
And is the secret keeper. I mean, let's put it this way. Syrup tried to send us a picture of some of her handwriting, and she had to cover up like 6 things.
That was really funny.
I couldn't see the secrets.
I mean,
We almost got them.
Almost got it.
I think I really enjoyed the death scene as well. And I think that I enjoy it for a different reason. I enjoyed it for the way it all came together. And what I mean by that is, so I actually just last night watched the GM Roundtable with Brennan Welligan, Abria, and
It's really good.
Mercer. So good. And something Brennan said, I was like, oh, that's me. That's what I do. And that example comes into play with that scene. So specifically, the way I write, because that was 120% all homebrew, right? That was all just
Oh, you boo-boo.
all me, yeah. But like when I first approached it, I was like, what do I do now? And what got me through it, what got me to the beautiful scene that it ended up being, was asking exactly what Brennan said, asking why. why things are the way that they are, what makes sense right now. So funny enough, the scene from there of Tal's grandmother's origin story, if you will, that didn't exist prior to that scene. Maria and I, when we talked about this character, it was a left like question mark. Right. That is it.
I left so many blank spaces, and this is exactly why.
This is why you leave blank spaces for your DM.
Yeah.
So and I'm so grateful, but I was like, well, this is what Tal's contending with right now. These are the facts that we have. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now why? What's happening now? You know, like what is the next logical reason? And you just build from there. And so the next logical reason, I can't see. There's only so much I can say because I don't know what the answer is. But you guys know. Honestly, I didn't even have the entity to begin with either. I was like, well, these are the things, and I kind of just like poked around, and I was like, oh, now this is this could work perfectly. And so like, well, if I choose this entity, then what are the reasons? And then I was like, well, it makes sense then that happened to the grandmother, and now this is going on, and these are the threads that connect it all. And so I had a great time flexing the storytelling skills with that scene, and connecting all the threads, kind of, you know, threads,
literally.
pun intended, but
that reminds me, I was so blindsided by the fact that like we were there. I was so
and then
shocked.
Overnoza was there, and that this whatever is
so
with
shocked.
with Arafe was there, and
that
then
one
just
hit
Ark
me
was
hard.
just there.
The thing that came from there, the reason that was even there was two things. Death has to mean something to me in these games, right? And you know, we had discussed about all of this, and I wasn't just gonna be like, oh well, Tal died, but you know, now you're back.
On to the next one.
Because I think that's a matter of respect. That's a matter of respect to the character that you built and the story that we're telling. So it has to mean something. There has to be consequences. But what would consequences be to Tal? And the thing that came very obvious from there is Tal's connection to the people around her. So let's pull on those heartstrings. And then the other aspect of it was, again, it's when you find that one perfect answer that answers like all of the concerns that you had. So how does this mean something to Tal? And two, how do I make this cool scene involve the rest of the table?
Yeah.
How do they matter to this as well? And so that was the flipping between, you know, back in the real world, so to speak.
I'll never forget it. I was like, I muted myself on purpose because I was literally saying out loud, pick me, 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 pick me. So I was like, just say it with your eyes, just say it with your eyes, just say it with your eyes. Don't do anything. Never mind. Don't look.
It was I knew as me, as soon as the question was implied but not even spoken, I knew I was gonna pick. I knew myself was going to pick you, Duval/Hideaki. I knew it was gonna happen, but this whole process. Yeah, the whole process of that scene, from my perspective, was so satisfying as like a player because I knew what I wanted to happen. I knew where Tal was eventually going to go. But being able to know the trajectory, know where I'm going, and then as Tal be like, but what's going on? But what's happening? But I don't understand any of this, but I don't get it. And taking the time to really sit on that choice was so satisfying. So satisfying.
Satisfying.
Yeah,
I'm so scared. I'm so fucking scared.
Follow-up question, but the dream sequence kind of stuff too for Maria.
Oh.
So before it happened, like anytime your dark claws came out or anything like that, like Tal got terrified. Like she hated it, she didn't want it. Afterwards, you did it voluntarily and there was no consequence in your mind. Like did something change with Tal? That all of a sudden it's like, you know what, this is a thing that I got and we're just gonna go with it?
I think so. I think there was a change because they now knew, they don't know what this entity is, they don't know anything, but it's not just I didn't have them and then I had them. They were given for a reason, and even though Tal doesn't know what that reason is for, or like to what extent they can be, you know, what in the world's this entity, what their plans or machinations or whatever. The fact that she was able to see that her grandmother had met this person and there was a reason for this, and then like this entity had chosen Tal for some reason, I think made them less hesitant, but also other things are influencing why they're very much okay with being more aggressive in a sense, more willing to do these more things, because it goes back to their fears. They don't want to die again. They don't want to be, they want to understand their powers so they don't hurt someone like Habram again, or one of you all again. Like, all of these things that they don't want to not be in control of them, so they're gonna use them because they need to know that they aren't gonna hurt someone. You know?
Are they, that was a beautiful answer. First of all. Second of all, why are they scared to die again? Specifically, obviously, I mean, there's obvious reasons, but
Can I give it?
Well, yeah.
oh yeah,
I would love to
theories,
hear.
right?
I love theories.
I think that they're scared to die again because probably, at least this, I think this is, obviously there's probably a lot of reasons. I think this is the forefront though. I think they're scared to die again because it would require them endangering someone else close to them. Right now it's just Hideaki.
They have to tie to a second.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel about it too.
That's definitely something that's on that's on their mind always, and still hasn't come up. They still haven't told anyone at all.
I'm so scared, Maria. I'm so scared. I'm so scared for when that happens.
Nervous.
I'm terrified.
So nervous for like whatever that situation, whatever that I don't understand. I don't get it, and it's great and it's terrifying.
I'm scared.
Yeah, I definitely think
Overknows that I find out about it.
That's why I was talking to Shir about this. I was like, wait a minute. I like caps lock message Syrup because I was like laying in bed or whatever. I was like, man, great session. Oh my god, Tal hasn't told him.
I've been told.
Does Overnosa know?
Overnosa
hasn't said it.
Overnosa was kind of there.
Oh,
yes, I think Overnosa knows.
So bad.
Overnosa.
I think he does too. And it's so bad.
But like Tal specifically was like, "Hey, I saw Ornoza there," and then you or Tal confronted Ornoza about it, and they're like, I guess maybe. I mean, I'm really here.
Was super
coy about it.
Let me clarify something. Overnoza specified. Overnoza is in the astral plane. Overnoza's being is an ancient, I believe, is that what we said?
Ancient copper dragon, yep.
Ancient copper dragon. I think an ancient copper dragon's knowledge bank encompasses quite a lot. Right? Hideaki does not just have access to all of the answers of an ancient copper dragon just because their souls are linked. Overnosa
Jacob is fine with that. Hideaki, however, is not.
Understood. So what Overnosa explained was that only parts of himself get pulled into this dimension with certain knowledge. So when things are asked and when things are brought up to the forefront, he's able to answer to certain extents and things like that. But there is
sounds like a cop out.
That's exactly what it is. Thank you,
now,
Thank you, Star.
all of that to say,
we appreciate that.
Whether Overnosa actually knows or not, well, we don't have an answer to that.
Tune in to find out.
Not an answer!
Tune in to find out.
This was a yes or no question, Syrup!
This is our after session talks. This is how we go.
Also,
can you tell I've yelled about this already before? Like privately?
I've been yelled at multiple times about this.
In a good way.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
I also want to point out that it cracked me up because, like, with everything that's been going on, all the things that are like the forefront of my mind and my ADHD ass self. Like it was the other day that I was like in a call with Duval and some other folk, nothing to do with O&O, just hanging out, working, spending the day, and Duval was like, you brought this up. You brought up the fact that Tal has not yet brought this up, but like I missed something, and I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And Duval was like, Syrup, are you kidding me right now? and then it took me a second to realize, oh, I forgot. I genuinely forgot that Tal has not yet told Hideaki about this.
Yeah.
And
I told no one.
the beauty of that realization all over again, and now I cannot wait.
I'm
I'm
nervous.
genuinely scared. I'm genuinely frightened about it.
To kind of finish rounding out, going off of your theory, Waffles, I do think that Tal is afraid of what will happen if they die again and have to make another choice, or if something's going to happen to Hideaki because of them dying.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think too, there's this, because Tal was always kind of afraid of death to begin with, because like there's if Tal died when, you know, around family in the circus or anything like that, there's so much that can't be done. They were a person who strove to make sure that everyone else was happy. And so if they weren't there, then who's gonna be the one to do that, right? But in this case, they're so much more afraid to die because they know how hard it hurt everyone else. Right? Because like everybody's been talking about, you know, how much it sucked, and like that whole conversation with Hideaki of like, and then you died and I was like devastated, and Tal's like, well, shit, can't do that again then, because I don't want to make people mad or sad or upset or do things that are harmful or like anything like that.
I point out though that right there, that thought process, the fact that Tal died, and Tal's worried about dying because of other people's reactions. Tal died. Tal's the one that died.
Yeah.
And that's
like
the reaction.
Many of us think
Yeah.
of ourselves.
Emotional trauma.
Amazing.
Emotional trauma.
trauma.
And my favorite part of all that though is the overlap of threads that we find between each character. Like the overlap of that kind of thought process with Erfe. The intellect overlap with Arc, the interpersonal overlap with Hideaki. Like there's just with Hideaki, there's just so, and that's all Tal's connections. And the reason we made that emotional trauma shirt, that all the overlaps are because like each, it's kind of like make it like really a testament to like humanity and everything, but like we're all kind of like fucked up in different ways, but like we're all like share experiences as well, and so it's just really cool to see how all of you guys support each other through your traumas, through each other's characters. It's really, really cool. So much overlap. Okay, so that was a good did we, that was an answer to a different question, right? We went through everybody.
We went through all the moments, and then Star had a question.
I followed up at the end because I didn't want to interrupt, but that kind of interacted with the question I had for Tal.
Perfect. So, if there's any last questions, please feel free to put them in chat right now. We're going to talk about one thing that we have not talked about yet. The fact that we're playing Pathfinder2e. We're not playing D&D, we're playing Pathfinder. An interesting thing to bring up, because we talk about putting yourself in danger and things like that, and it got me kind of thinking about that. Tactics and it's probably not the right word, but like affectability in combat, like probably the worst word to use, but like impact and strategy and tactics and playing the story that we're playing. We're telling amazing stories. Like all of us are storytellers, all of us are doing an amazing job, but we are doing it through the structure of a specific system. And I'm always fascinated by how those choices kind of interact with certain things. So for example, with Pathfinder2e, especially adventure paths, it is known, at least in the Paizo community, that adventure paths are heckin' dangerous. And we care so much about these characters. So all that to say, what is something that what is something that you were surprised about? Because I do believe that it's most of y'all's first time playing Pathfinder2e. What is something about Pathfinder2e that surprised you and how it comes out in our story?
I think for me, it was, and again, this is my first Pathfinder. I've majority played D&D. It is how much more deadly Pathfinder is. Yep. I know that's a pretty normal response, but it was like, we fought a weakened Myconid in level 1 and somebody died. Like, that's not something that happens as often in D&D. And as right now, I am DMing a group of 6 level 12 characters. I have to go up to CR 20 to give them a semblance of a challenge. So it's like coming into Pathfinder where it's like, D&D like, oh, be careful not to kill anybody in the first few levels because they're kind of squishy and then they're just going to run over you. And here it's just like, F you, you're gonna die. Like, right? That's just kind of the mentality. And it's great, but it is definitely like, if you're coming from D&D, just be ready for the mentality change of combat is hard.
Jump. You gotta think about stuff.
You have to think. Because I think part of the problem was we all jumped in with the D&D mentality of fight. Level 1, we got this. It's gonna be harder. It could be a bit of a challenge, but yeah.
I tried to preface. Waffles tried to preface. But it doesn't.
It's right until you hit it. You don't really know.
You don't get it. Yeah.
You don't get it until you hit it.
Valid. So
watch our faces during that encounter. Like, we're just like, what?
The panic. the panic. The for sure panic.
Absolutely.
The fact that a level up at combat in level 1, like, we're all like, what, armor class, like, I think 19 is the highest. They're striking us for 23 with not even a bat of the eye.
That's the biggest surprise for me with Pathfinder is the fact that like ridiculously high rolls are common.
Yeah.
Like,
that's too.
You think like.
Sorry, to speak to the mechanics of that real quick, like the purpose of it is because of the crit system kind of thing. So like a plus 10 is a crit, so they're like, okay, you need to roll a natural 19 or 20 to crit. Well, that means if you roll a natural 12 or 11, you probably hit, right? Like every time, no matter what, because that's how everything is like balanced kind of thing. So
yeah,
I do want to preface this though with Waffles and Syrup did warn us.
They did.
The warnings were made. They told us it was going to be hard several times.
Many times.
We didn't get it.
No. The conversation was, those frogs in the laundry, this is not an accurate representation of what you're going to run into.
Well, okay. I think the thing was when I said that my AC was 16, and I was like, that's probably fine, and then Waffles was like, no, and I said, oh, see now,
like,
okay,
that's pretty good for level 1, and then Waffles like, you're gonna get hit all the time. Okay.
What the hell?
Okay.
The joy. So I'm gonna answer my own question a little bit differently because it's not about a surprise for me because I there's a reason Waffles and I enjoy Pathfinder2e so much, but so I'll answer this a little bit differently, which is what I enjoyed the most. Like, both of you just described 2 really important aspects about the difference with that. The most obviously new GM over here, starting a new adventure path, all these like anxieties and worries, and like we threw you guys like, we had the frogs and we've rolled initiative with the Pagwampies and like all those little things. Like, okay. But like, this is just so you guys get a little bit familiar with your abilities and know what's going on. This is not, it's not a fight. This isn't a fight. I can't reiterate that enough. And then the muscular fight and how that turned out. But then when you vanquished your foe, for lack of a better term, watching each of your faces and the satisfaction and the end of that session, the after talks that we had on the show, like on Zoom after the show, y'all were so hyped and like
and angry. Just be real.
But like satisfied too with the combat. And there was a beautiful realization I saw with each of you is that combat, and I think Maria, you even said it that time, which is combat wasn't just a slog. It wasn't just hit roll.
I was yeah, that's the biggest thing, because I am to counter Star's what Star said, I am not a combat oriented person. Combat to me, coming specifically from like a D&D place, has always been the part where I'm the most unengaged in sessions. Because I do my thing and then I wait for my turn, which is not how combat should be, you know? And I've never got to that point yet in these games. Because one, there's 1,000 things to think about, which is good. But because the stakes are so high all the time, if you zone out, if you're not paying attention, you're dead. You're dead. You're just dead. you're gone.
Yeah. Well, and if that wasn't enough, I sprinkled a reminder of your mortality and connected you to Hideaki. So it's good. That's good. We're good.
In context with that too, is it's just like combat, in my opinion, and I will say this like as a combat person, combat in Pathfinder is so much more well built than it is in D&D, because it's like in D&D it's like you have your action, which usually means are you gonna hit or are you gonna look for something. You have your bonus action, which is another spell, maybe a
that
smaller
not everybody
hit.
gets. No, but not everybody gets a bonus action either. Yeah.
And you move. Like that's kind of what you get. And with Pathfinder, it's like you have 3 things you can do. Each have a different amount. You can look for lore. You can pull out a weapon. You can go over here. You can do this. You can do that. There's a whole list of things you can do. So if you're not someone who's a striker, you have 600 other things you can do to be useful, and that's something that D&D doesn't have.
I think it was an answer to exactly that when it was made up, but
Certainly.
I think it was beautifully displayed when in the tournament where from the sidelines Hideaki just did a knowledge check to support the combat, to shout like facts and things like that, when technically there was in their character sheet not anything that they could do to support from the sidelines, and I thought that was a really good display of that.
I think we're actually skipping what we learned from the Myceloid fight into the what's his face? Oh my god, we keep calling him Brooklyn, even though it wasn't Brooklyn. Brooklyn was another one of those guys.
Yeah.
The things that hit us on our internet.
Hyena looking dudes. Well,
Wait,
no,
the
not
ones
these.
that on the ceremony.
The ceremony day.
The pug wompies.
Yeah. The pug, there we go.
They
pug
are.
wompies. And like, there was such a difference in like the way we thought about things and the way we executed stuff. That was way smarter. We clearly had learned from our mistakes, even though you could argue like a lot of our mistakes was underestimating this single foe and then missing a lot.
If you
and then
want...
it was like,
go ahead.
And then it was like we took that next encounter like so seriously, and like I was so locked in. My adrenaline was like fucking peaking. And I was like so focused on like what I was like over. I had like 3 different things. Like I was like, you could go this way. Like I was measuring stuff. I was like,
you were strategizing before the game started, like a week before, like as soon as we were done.
Yeah, and I love how it like and immediately went sideways when like somebody
as it should. Like,
as it should. But I can't wait for the next combat. I think we've done. I mean, and the tournament was nice because but it was also low stakes, and like first of all this is like coming from like a Pathfinder2e fan perspective, right? Like I enjoy it. There's a reason we play it and all of that kind of stuff, and I love the little side like title that Waffles and I have of like being the people that bring people into Pathfinder2e, and it's like it's a secret like amazing.
You're our enablers.
We're enablers. Yes. But like I kind of like, if there was a easy way to do it, I would take a summary of battle number 1, and like do a mashup video of like players new to Pathfinder2e, players scarred by Pathfinder2e, like half
amazing.
and seeing that dichotomy, and then just I can't wait to see where it goes. But it as like a personal joy of watching that shift from the first to the second real battles was so much fun.
Also, I just had an image when you said you initiate people into Pathfinder. I just imagine you and Waffles with a white van saying, "Come play with us. We have more fun to do during combat."
That's a good thing.
You like the combat, do you?
There's more things to do during combat. Things are deadlier here. Come join us.
Must be more severe.
I'm gonna jump in there real quick. Syrup said, like, I can't wait for y'all to have the next combat. I imagine this is probably kind of spoilers, I figure it's kind of not. Like, I feel like most people should know this, but I can't wait until we've already faced one boss, like air quote boss. That was like the scene where we were supposed to have our graduation scene, but we didn't, kind of thing.
Krishkin.
I personally can't wait for the book boss. That was a chapter boss. I can't wait for the book boss, because that's like talk about like stakes getting high and like actually having to think about combat. Like that's like I remember the Extinction Curse book boss that y'all had to face, and like they make them so interesting. Like the battle is interesting. It's not stand there and slog. Like
it's not just a strong character, so to speak. It's not just like, oh, here's an NPC that's particularly strong. This is a particularly interesting fact about them. Figure it out, or like here's their goal, or something like that.
It's Ignacy, we already know.
I cannot comment. So you have
Inside check.
You have the aspect of introducing yourself to combat. Then you have the aspect of trying it on for size now that you think you're prepared. Then you have the aspect that you have not yet done, which is dungeon crawl, so to speak.
Yeah.
You haven't yet had to do resource management or anything like that, which is an interesting one, and to be honest, one that both Waffles and I don't do 100% to book in terms of like resting. But we'll see how that goes, and it's not spoilers. You guys are going
Thursday.
you guys are going into the library Thursday, and we'll see how that exploration goes.
That's a dungeon. Spoilers. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I think I said that last time.
Abandoned ruins.
That's why I'm just kidding.
But we'll. I don't know. All right, for those of you that know the end of this book, for those watching, for those of you that have grand strength of thousands, that know what comes and about that last boss fight and how that affects things, I'm curious how each and every one of these pieces get put together for the final. I think it'll be very, very interesting.
We'll find out in 2026.
No spoilers in chat, no spoilers in Discord. We're very adamant about that.
Yes, very
I will find you.
Please let
us have fun.
Please let us have fun.
I want to add one last disclaimer for this entire last question conversation, because this has come up in the ttrpg community recently, and that is absolutely not what we're doing. We enjoy Pathfinder2e here. I want to add that, you know, there is also enjoyment to be had with D&D 5e. There's enjoyment to be had with all sorts of things. This is not a conversation of which is better. This is not a conversation about me going into your D&D spaces going, why did you play Pathfinder2e? Like, we're not, that's not what we're doing. No. We're just, I enjoy the heck out of this system, and I want to highlight it, and I want to see how the first time players are experiencing it and what they enjoy of it, and all of that stuff. So that little disclaimer, I shouldn't have to say it, but I will say it because it's it has come up before. So
you said you don't like D&D.
We have one final question that we're going to get to before we get out of here. I knew this. We've already been at this for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's gonna be an hour and a half, and we're gonna get out of here.
We're gonna have a little bit of a
knew it was a lie.
We knew. We all knew.
A lie.
Before you go in, before you go in there, we haven't done this yet, so I feel like I have to. Where the fuck is perception? Thank you.
Oh,
bless.
T-shirt coming soon. I have to finish it up after I do the amp stuff, so I'm just saying we're gonna have a T-shirt.
Can it just be a stick figure with a sheet going, where the fuck is perception?
It's a little bit better than that, actually. I love it. But
So excited.
It
It's,
All right.
It's literally almost done. I just need to put it into Photoshop and do the typography of it.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
so Fumu,
show
the
him
wonderful,
on screen right now. I'm just kidding.
the wonderful Fumu asks, I suppose I do have a question. Regarding character deaths, do y'all tend to do plot moments with death to give the player a chance to revive their character? Or do you stick to raw and that character is done when the dice say so?
I have-
Maria.
All right, so as the one person who's died on this show,
Maria.
I have something. Me,
Maria.
my character died. Yeah, it was me. I'm not who you think I am. Anyway,
Maria Boyd.
This is actually the ghost of Maria.
surprise.
Well, better.
So what? So the thing about Tal's death is that it was slow coming in that it took like 2 episodes for them to actually die vis-a-vis the mechanics.
Kept fucking up.
The
And
disease.
we kept fucking up. But prior to the actual moment of death, Syrup was in my DMs being like, hey, here's the reality of the situation. Do you want Tal to die? Syrup asked me if I wanted to have this happen because that's how the dice rolled, or if we wanted to do something else and figure out something else. And I was like, I want to see what happens if the dice roll this way. But, so that, highlight number 1, badass GM asking me
Fuck
for
your player.
consent to have my player die, A+ gold stars all around.
Correct.
2, the after conversation from that, after the show was done, and then into the next couple of weeks about like, what are we gonna do now?
We had like 2 months. Oh my god.
We had a break.
That's right.
We
That's
had
when the
a
big
break.
break was.
Yeah,
It
totally
was
forgot
so,
about that.
it was so
We're
long.
Cruel
It
individual.
was during summer break, dude. It's okay.
Yeah. So having the moments to talk about how we wanted to handle the death, because as we were with level 1, we had, amongst the 4 of us, 0 way to resurrect a person. Absolutely no way. And we had discussions on, do we bring another character in? You know, like, what do we want to do? And I was like, it took me a couple of days to really like sit in it and think about it. And I was like, I don't think Tal's story is done. And I don't think that it would be interesting for the story to introduce a new person at this time. Now, say like in a couple of months, if Tal was to die again, it would be very impactful, and maybe that would be, and maybe it would have another moment to discuss. You know, is this the time to bring in a new person or something like that? But we kind of did both.
That's my answer, right? Kind of both.
Yeah.
So the template to the story you're telling is the system that you've picked. And I don't want to assume that this is, this question is only for the system that we play. Certain systems are easier or harder to die in terms of, I'm talking not about difficulty of combat, but I'm talking about like how you handle death saves and like that aspect of it. So I think you kind of have to tailor it pending that. If it is, so there's 2 key things that you have to do for any of this decision making. 1, respect the story being told, and respect your players, and respect everybody's buy-in.
Yeah. I'm gonna double down and caveat that at the same time and say like, yes, respect. There are certain systems I think that the respect is laid at session 0 and everyone just has to buy in, unfortunately, because like sometimes death is a part of a system, period. But like as long like that buy-in has to be there.
The buy-in of the group
like
should be established from the get-go, but the check-in with the respect in terms of the player, who's this is affecting, that comes first and foremost, and that is allowed to be checked in the moment, kind of like, like I did with a DM and things like that, because like Maria said, like episodes from now, this could be a very different situation. So just because Maria said what they said to me in that moment is not, you know, it has to be a check-in depending on that situation.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels like the dice were just really rough that night, and it wasn't even an important combat, and it was like literally like I tripped and I hit my head and now that's it, like 0 hit points, like really?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to tell a good story, so if that's the case, then like you're always allowed to break the system, you're always allowed to break the rules and make it be a story moment or things like that. But you know, looking at the scenario that we had, this was like almost like a long time coming. There were saves involved. There was like a lot of emotional like hang up that I felt, and so let me say what I felt and then how it doesn't matter. I felt that it would be cheap, I don't know the exact right word, to then be like, they're not dead because of how much that is. And now it doesn't really matter what I think, because it's Maria's character, and so Maria gets to make that decision, and I will respect that, and I will also make it work no matter what. And if they decide that they want to live, then it's on me to still make that matter in a different way, or however.
And there are resources to help
yeah.
with this too.
Yep.
And there are.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
need, by the way, if you need a bit, for example, to collect your thoughts, like, we are not like, we ended the session
Yeah.
with that death, and I had, in this case, a very long time to then go and be like, okay, how do I want to make this matter?
And it
You
came
do not
out,
have to
the
do that.
thing that came out of it was one of the literally we all agreed is one of our most favorite moments of the entire show. And that moment would not have happened if I had chosen to be like, well, I want to rethink it. A different moment would have happened. A different moment entirely would have happened.
Right.
But it served our
different.
story. It would have been different, yeah. But it served our story so well to be that transparent with each other of like, you know, Syrup not, and like in full transparency, none of us we were all like, like
Full transparency, I was panicking. I was, I new GM, never
Everyone.
killed a player
New GM, who
before.
does?
I was in tears. I was in tears saying, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, that was really hard for me. And
But you wanted to be true to the story that was being told and the
Yep.
dice.
Yeah,
Like,
and
here's the
it-
thing,
the
to
most important
Maria's
thing.
point around
sucked
like
and it felt
their-
right though.
because not only did like Tal fail those saves, right? Like we also missed them sneaking out again, and went the wrong way, and and so many different like levels of things that like would have prevented this like happening, and it just didn't. It just didn't work out. Like, and that's life sometimes too, you know. Like sometimes it just doesn't
the
work.
dice and the mechanics are your guidelines. The dice and the mechanics are rails for the story, and I see you, Waffle, just one second. And then they're telling you, here's how it would go. And now you're the director of this movie, if you want to look at it that way, and you get to say, great idea, let me tweak it, or
Make it yours. Yeah.
let me change it. That's the orchestration beauty and role of when you partner with the actors and the director. Go ahead, Waffles.
I'm gonna lean in. I agree with everything that's been said, absolutely so far. I think it's probably, and I'll go ahead and lay it down. I think it's probably the best and most valid way to do it as a GM. I'm gonna lean into the question slightly differently as how I interpreted it with my autistic brain here, and say that because it says, or do you stick rules as written and the character is done when the dice say so. So at my tables, and Syrup has been part of one of the deaths.
He killed me.
Yeah. You at my tables, it's obviously a safety you're agreed upon. You like, hey, there's gonna be deaths and you'll die. I don't seek to kill the characters, but at my tables, when the dice say your character is dead, your character will die. Now, what comes after that is never rules as written. It doesn't. The party doesn't have to have a revive spell. Like, minor spoilers. Syrup's character came back through no revive spell whatsoever. They didn't have to go find somebody with a revive spell. There's other things to be done with story that makes perfect sense, and I think hers personally was a very good moment too, and everything.
I have to say with that moment, and this is referring to Journeys Adrift, our Starfinder campaign that has since completed.
Yay!
With the I got the experience of going through it as a player, and the oh my god conflict of emotion that goes through that, because this is where trust comes into play, y'all, immensely, with the players, the table as a whole, and with your GM. The conflict that I experienced came from similarly not wanting the story to end for the character. The character story wasn't done, but like anxiety as well of like, but if I do choose death or allow it, will it be given the gravitas that I want it to, because it's my character, it means so much to me. Well, do the rest of the players care? And so my recommendation is, because again, died in that session, we ended the session. So I had time to process my feelings, because oh my gosh, I went through roller coasters. I cried, I was upset, then I was like, maybe not.
I let you process and cry down in the kitchen, then we got to have a nice conversation about it, like what would happen, Yeah.
And I have control issues, to be perfectly honest. And that was on me to be like, there was a lack of trust at first, but it's not because of Waffles, but because of me. I was like, but my story, but it's got to be this way, but no, not that way. And then I trusted, and it came to an insane decision that, y'all, I was not ready to let that character go. And then he put the decision in front of me, and I realized that I could not do anything else but make the decision to not come back. And I in the moment had to be okay with that. I was like, I have a decision. I could come back, but it's not true to my character. She wouldn't make that decision. And it was thanks to one of the other players
with a ridiculous roll.
That saved my character. I had made the decision to not come back, and somebody else saved that character. It was insane. Wow. It was its own roller coaster, and I could not, you can't.
I'll just lean into that and piggyback too, because we've had a lot of GM talks on this podcast, this stream so far. I mean, it will be a podcast too. On this stream so far, though, is like everyone always says, say yes and if there's many times where my brain can't catch up, and I don't know how to say yes and perfectly in that exact moment.
Sure.
No matter what, say yes and you'll have some great moments. So like that player was like, can I do this? And I was like, does it make great sense? You know what? It doesn't matter if you roll a natural 20 or set the DC super high, DC 37. If you beat it, then yep, it'll happen. If it's a weird thing like that. And I mean, they rolled it, and it became like one of the best rolls and moments. Everybody was super hyped, like that. That's the yes and. That, you, even if it's a tiny chance, you give them a chance. And if they don't save, then you keep going. At that point, you got to be happy with it, right? Like,
yeah.
I also wanted to mention something too, and I'm sorry, there was a car that was very loud outside, so I had to turn my microphone off so it didn't just completely drown
that
myself.
Car is very rude.
I know.
Okay.
Rude. But just kind of in the same vein as Maria was talking about, because like Arafe was also now on the brink of following behind, and Syrup reached out to me, and she was like, if this happens, are you cool with it? And I had to be honest and say, I don't know, because we had discussions in the past of when Arafe dies, this is the thing that happens. And she's like, are you ready for that? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this quite yet.
It's valid. Yeah. Not knowing is so okay, guys. Like, seriously?
And I had the time to think about it.
That's the thing that I keep going back to in hindsight is like, I absolutely 100% give my consent for Tal to die. And then after the session, I realized that as soon as I said yes, I went into like disassociation mode. I realized for like 2 days. I didn't know I didn't have any feelings toward it. And then as soon as I did, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
and this is so overall, I do hope that we answered your question, Fumu. It's a very, very good question.
Great question.
This is the overall reminder that I have to everybody that we do here with playing TTRPGs, whether it's a home game or if it's in front of a live audience, you are actors. But as we talked at the very beginning of this show, we also put a piece of ourselves into these characters. And as such, as we build as safe an environment as we can with safety tools and such, but there is no avoidance of emotional bleed. Not always fully character bleed, but still, you care about this character. Of course you do. You're doing an amazing job playing. Each of you are doing an amazing job playing your characters. So of course, if you're in somebody's head, embodying people's like thoughts, then it's going to affect you. So be kind and remember that, and just, we care, and that tells a good story, but that does come with some cost that we need to take care of each other for.
I would give one piece of advice as a GM that's had it happen go on both directions of when a character dies, stop the game for a minute and go talk to that player, because I've had players that have decided after a couple weeks after that game that they wanted to leave it up to chance, flip a coin, see if my spirit's willing to come back. And I had a player that they came back immediately during the game, and we actually just talked a couple days ago, and they're like, at this point I kind of wish I would have let them die, but I didn't have time to think about it. So if a character dies, just stop.
Just you can take a break. If you're doing an AP, if you're doing like a live show, just like have that moment, let it sit for a second, and then like go to break. You can go to a break. Or if it's towards the end of the episode, like ours was, we literally stayed for an extra 5 minutes to have those rolls, to have that realization, and then we ended the episode. Like,
if it's a home game, have a snack break, get some dinner, go to another room with that player and just talk it out for a minute.
Totally get creative, and if you
just be done. Or just be done for the day and be like, you know what, we're going to give them a chance. We're just done for now. Short episode, short session. It's fine.
And if you're worried about like as well, because I know a lot of our audience is, and if you're aspects of that, there is a very beautiful thing that you can do, which is lean into the dramatic aspect of the story and cliffhangery, and like you can build that pause in without breaking the narrative 100%. You can be like what I tried to do is like I didn't want it to drag on too long, but like in that moment I wanted, okay, we're gonna get to everybody else and their thoughts right now. We're gonna give everybody a moment but not Maria, right? We're gonna give everybody who's in that room right now a moment to just kind of think about things, and that's gonna give some narration to it. Give Maria a second to process what's going on while I'm in their DMs, and then we hit a story beat that does not require Maria to make any decisions about their character just yet. They answered me at this time, so we actually did like make a certain decision and end the story. And that is within the narration. That is still good storytelling. You're still making a show, and you're still giving time for your players. And
then go on like a month break and really just let it. Oh my god!
And then leave for 2 months.
And then just leave for a while.
Poor audience. I'll never forget that YouTube comment. So is the show over? I hope it's not over. I don't want it to be over.
That's what I do with my players. Is I have in my world, at least for D&D, I have for every single one of my characters the conversation the Raven Queen wants to have with them the minute they meet her. So when they die, they meet her. We have a conversation, and the last thing we'll do before the session ends is, so what is your decision? And then we stop.
Oh, amazing.
Wow. Eulalia was like that, where if they failed a death save, they go to because in the Redwall world, it's also a dark forest, and they're met at their gates by a loved one. So for April's character, it was their mother. And boy, did that get fucking intense. And then I asked a question, because you can do your roll death saves the next turn, or you can open the gate. Don't tell me out loud. Message me when you're ready.
Wow. It's almost like we have little storytellers here or something.
Oh my god.
I want to point out the beautiful Duval. You mentioned the fantastic comment that is absolutely true. Y'all, so we're lucky enough and it's 100% lucky enough to do this as a show, to do this for an audience. It's a joy through and through. If you're watching up until now, if you're still here, I'm incredibly grateful for you. I believe we are all incredibly grateful for you for joining us on this story. I don't know where it's going to go. I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm along for the ride just as much as y'all. So this is a reminder, y'all's, first of all, commenting on YouTube, coming, watching us live, all of these things that you, and joining us in the Discord, just chat.
Fuels my soul.
It fuels
It
everything.
clears my skin and it waters my
I check like every episode, like every couple of days, just to see if there is a comment that I missed.
Yes, and not like that's just for us. That's our selfish love that you stroke our ego in the best way, so like in a really great way.
There's something about you enjoying something and then knowing that someone who's not attached to you also is enjoying that thing is like,
Yes.
what? It breaks my brain every single time. It does not stop breaking my brain. Not to mention the like algorithms are happy with it, but like whatever. But like I care more about us and our enjoyment of it. I care about us, not about you.
We only care about ourselves, not
Enjoying
you.
what we're
Yeah.
making.
Yeah, Alex.
So all of that to say, the other side of things for the Breakfast Club, the folks that are able to support us monetarily, allow us to have streams like this. Okay, the After School Special is literally comes from a Ko-fi goal that we had, and I'm incredibly grateful. So this is I want more of these. We've had so many insightful things to say. We can continue talking for hours. This
forever.
is me pumping the brakes because we're already half an hour more than the max that I was gonna say, which is amazing.
I will say on the way out, Syrup. This isn't a question that requires an answer, but I think as part of the outro, we should ask ourselves a question about what does each character want like next.
Sure. I love that. So thank you all for your support for letting this happen. These amazing individuals, Waffles can be found on Twitter at GM_Waffles. Maria can be found on Twitter at HappyCapster. Star can be found on Twitter at Star Shinobi. Am I correct? I don't have it in front of me. Okay,
Yep.
good. And Duval can be found at Duval King Jacob. Find all these beautiful people. Thank you
Also,
for letting
Syrup
us...
can be found on Twitter at
Revica
_
Syrup. I forgot the underscore because I
got you. I got you, fam. I got you.
I don't live
got
with
you on
punctuation.
Thank you for letting us talk about the things that are in our heads and being engaged and listening to us. It's amazing. You guys are amazing. And we will leave ourselves with the question of, where do you want your character to go from here? And I'll ask myself the question of, where do I want the show to go from here?
Yes.
My emotions.
I did cry on this already, so check all the boxes off. I love you guys so much. I love this show so much. We all have a lot of other projects going on as well, so go find all the things to support, and thank you, honestly. And now
we'll see you on Thursday.
Dramatic effects. Oh yeah, we'll see you on Thursday.
Who wants to go with their question first?
Do you want to answer? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure,
You're
I'll
welcome.
answer since I asked. Who are you now? The walls have been shattered. Who
are you now?
And selfishly, for Hideki to R2, what's the cheat code to your friendship?
Maria, do you have a question that you would ask Tal?
It would be...
And if we don't, if it's just more general and not something that can be put to words, that's okay.
Or it could be to somebody.
Yeah. The question that I ask would, or like Tal would ask themselves, I guess, is why are you still scared?
Ooh,
That's
I
awesome.
love that. I adore
Love
that.
This is a great exercise already. I'm really happy about this.
Star or Waffles? Do either of you have one?
I've actually been thinking about this for a long time since Hideaki is the question that Arafe is asking herself constantly now is, who do you want to be?
Oh, that's great! I love that so much.
Let's go. Each of these will now have to be t-shirts.
Yeah.
Waffles, how about you?
I think the question I would ask Ark is, what's more important, self-acceptance or other people's acceptance?
Just go fall in a hole real quick. Let me just go sit.
We just dropping the bombs. We're just dropping the
Everybody's
bombs.
reactions to things just fuel me.
I am so.
Waffles' delivery when he says something amazing is just like,
It's so good.
I know.
It's so good.
It's that matter
Y'all
of
are
factness
just
that's so great behind
good.
it.
It's just so good.
fuck it. I love you. Guess who?
And-
Oh, no edition. I love that thing.
Guess who? Yes, 100%. And for myself,
Do you have trauma? Game over.
everybody just
No one
listens to
left.
Guess Who.
The easiest one of guess who? Who does not have emotional trauma? Everybody
Yeah.
goes down except for Teacher Ott. Teacher Ott is the answer.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's
I'm just
Habram is my
speculation.
Don't you
I
remember
think Habram.
Don't you remember that teacher like has is like? Didn't somebody have a theory like just about maybe he's not? So
I
Yeah.
have so many theories.
I have several.
I have so many theories.
You mean the meme? Maybe he's not so bad. I told you.
I told you. I had to figure it out myself.
Great meme. For myself,
Yeah.
I think as a GM, I will say, how can I surprise each of you still as we move forward? Because it's my pride and joy to be able to do so.